Hello, hello, hello. Give me a moment. A little late. Go get food. Welcome to the office hours, ladies and gentlemen. This is a live stream where I talk about Star Citizen content and lore, and kind of hang out AMA stuff. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, First Tasty and DryCon. Normally I do this on Thursdays, but I decided to do it today on a Friday because I was absolutely dead on Thursday, and so my brain is still not completely rewired. But luckily we don't have a captain table this week, so.
Take away my space game.
Ooh, hold on. Thank you, DryCon.
DryCon just resubscribed for 23 months.
I do sound far away. I'm not near my mic. Now I am. So I should sound a little bit better. I was getting all ready and such. Hold up. Hold up. Perfect. All right. It's all good. I'm cooking. Yeah. Who the hell wears pants when they're streaming, First Tasty? Friday, Friday. You gotta get that on Friday. Oh, I found my fellow millennial. All right. Yeah. We're always pantsless in this pub. All right. Hello and welcome. Come in and stay a while. Stay a while and listen. Well, that reminds me, I got to do some stuff. Some super secret stuff today. I'm going to say it's super secret. And you will all find out very soon. So. But I can't talk about it until it's out. So. Getting all big and important up in here. How y'all doing?
You can take away my spaceship.
Spaceship.
You can take away my space suit.
Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers.
No pew-pews.
But you can never,
ever
take away my space game.
Womblissimo just resubscribed for 5 months.
Thank you so much there, Womblissimo. Thank you. Are a very important pup, a very impressive, a very pedestrian. This is your fault. The reason I'm drinking it. Trust and choose in chat, y'all. Trust and choose. Oop. Wrong one. Yeah, I did the back. Darn you. There we go. There we go. I'm not finished meeting all of the members yet, so I know the whole main storyline, but I've been avoiding doing it because everyone was like, I'm not gonna watch you if I'm gonna play the game first, so that's interesting. CitizenCon hype's starting to pick up. It is. I'm gonna say this right now because I'm gonna put some damper on the hype that I'm partially responsible for. There's a reason why I always said it's a conspiracy theory that Squadron 42 is going to be shown off at CitizenCon. Because while there's a lot of evidence that's circumstantial that says that CitizenCon is going to get a nice spotlight at CitizenCon, Squadron's going to get a nice spotlight at CitizenCon. There's nothing conclusive. There's no hard evidence. There's no accidental slip up from the devs. There's nothing right now. And as a result, no one knows, except for CIG, what's going to be shown at CitizenCon. Can you at least have a clue? It has to do with CIG. That's all I'll say. CIG reached out and asked me to do something. That's all. No, I'm coming to CitizenCon. So I will say that not CIG, but another member of the community, another institution of the community, reached out to me and said, "Hey, we need some help, and we'll help you come to CitizenCon to have you help us." And I was like, "Sure." So I am going to CitizenCon for sure now. I know it'll be shown at CitizenCon, the Vandal nudes we've all been waiting for. We all have been waiting for those Vandal nudes.
You can take away my spaceship. You can take away
Where's Tony's?
Sylvesto!
No BPUs.
But you can
Never.
ever take away my space game.
Sylvesto just resubscribed for 15 months.
Sylvester, thank you so much for that 15 months of Prime sub. You are very important, Papa, very impressive, Pisser, very pedestrian. This is your fault. Your reason for tonight. Trust and cheers in chat, y'all. Trust and cheers. Am I paying for myself, or is it paid for you to go? Pretty much everything's paid for me. I still have to pay for my lodging, but everything else, including the ticket, was comped for me, which is nice. So that was a nice little thank you. Like I said, CIG had nothing to do with it as far as I'm sure. I'm told. So. You're here first. Paul's gonna be on stage with the lore team to present something special for the community. God, I wish. Listen, I have it from good authority that the lore team does watch my videos. I'm confused and scared when they watch my videos, but I'm glad they watch my videos because I'm also fairly certain that there's some parts of the lore that I know more about than they do, which kind of makes me go, oh shit. But then I remember I'm a historian and I don't remember fucking everything about history. I just know how to look it up. And they have that luxury. I don't. Never. Ever.
Take away my space game.
Ionic Gecko just resubscribed for 34 months. Been a minute since I caught you live. How have you been, Paul? Collabing with Sig? Nice. Glad you get to go to CitizenCon. Closing parenthesis.
Thank you so much, Ionic Gecko, for that 34 months. You are very important, Pupper, very impressive, sir, very new pedestrian. This is your fault. This is friend drinking night. Shots and cheers to chat, y'all. Suit.
You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never, ever take away my space game.
Joypop _ just resubscribed for 14 months.
Thank you so much there. Joy Pop for that 14 months of support. You are very important, Pupper. Very impressive, Mr. Vandy Pedestrian. This is your fault. You returned to night. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. Imagine, Paul, a convention for you talking about lore with a single 12-hour panel. That's what I do on fucking... on this. I pretty much talk about lore. Well, I don't talk all about lore, but I could for 4 hours. I'm happy about this shit. Actually sorted sort of stuff. Yeah, pretty much all that. Oh shit, huge update with 320 update. The commodities in the journal are sorted so you don't have to scroll back and forth. Nice. Officers from the main stage. Do you know at the point where I'm at the end of the main storyline, but considering making a new run just to relax on the main storyline? Yeah, I mean, it's all, like a lot of Bethesda games. The main storyline is good, but it's not like super long. So, hype.
You can take away my spaceship.
Spaceship.
You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers. But you can never, ever take away my space game.
Inner Hype just resubscribed for 80 months. The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall.
Damn, Inner Hype, that's some deep stuff for your 80 months of support. You're a very important pub, a very impressive pisser of any pedestrian. This is your fault. Reason for drinking night. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. God damn. Inner Hype up in here with his wisdom that he learned from Misk, from his Misk handbook. G-Pow, sup peeps, been a while. I'm curious, what's everyone's opinion on Ashoka? I've only seen the first 2 episodes. They were good. I will be crying tears of joy if pizza is introduced into Star CitizenCon. I will say that CitizenCon is a success if they announce and show pizza. If they show pizza working with in the game, like, I don't even care if it's got stringy cheese, just pizza that we can pull, slice out and eat. 10 out of 10, IGN, fuck you, it's done. Best thing I've ever heard. You've heard it here first, Paul. Paul's going to be on stage. Oh yeah, you said that, yeah.
You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers.
Nice, Alex.
But you can never,
ever
take away my space game.
Starticus just resubscribed for 48 months. I want pizza now.
I want pizza now. Thank you, Stat. You're a very important pub, a very impressive pisser, very pedestrian. This is your fault. The reason for drinking out. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. I think it's like 48 months of support, buddy. How is Manchester? Are you still there? You hate Ashoka. Half of each episode is wasted time. I saw episode 1 and episode 2, and they seemed fine. It's very much a Dave Filoni production. So if you don't like Rebels, I can see not liking Ashoka, or if you were kind of meh on like the end of Clone Wars, same kind of concept. No, I just got home. I got home Sunday, but still at UK times about the crash. Get some sleep, buddy.
You can take away my space suit. You can even take away my space lasers.
No pews.
But you can
Never. Ever.
take away my space game.
I mean, I don't even know how many NDAs I'm under at this point.
J_Culvain just resubscribed for 60 months. Here's to another 5 years historian of the stars, so free drinks at the pub.
Thank you so much for that 60 months, J. Calvin. You're a very important pub, a very impressive pisser, a very neat pedestrian. This is your fault. The reason you're drinking. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. You hate Ashoka. Each half episode is a waste of time. I don't know. I haven't seen more than 2 episodes. I've also heard that people really, really like it. And I know the people who really, really like it are probably like the super in-depth lore nerds. So I know that Thrawn's in it. And I know that they actually have a live action Ezra, so that's interesting. Question, can you clarify the incoming physical inventory system CIG shows on ISC? What clarification do you want, Max? It's surface trash. I'll have to take a look at it. Like I said, I haven't watched it. I'm really liking it, but I've also seen all of Rebels and read the Thrawn books. I've been reading the Thrawn books because, here, I'm going to show you all a secret. Let's see if I still have it. I'm going to show you all a secret script that I worked on a while ago that I've been sitting on until Squadron 42 is getting towards its announcement and release date. Jake knows about it. I talked to Jake about it because they're the only people I know who are as in-depth in Star Wars as I am in Star Citizen. So I conversed with them about the whole thing. Still find it. Did I delete it? Please tell me I didn't delete it. Doesn't look like it's here. Here? No. I may have just hyped you all up for nothing because I don't see it at all. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. I'd have to remake it. So I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to give you too much. All I'm going to say that is that it has to do with Thrawn and Admiral Bishop. That's all I'm going to say. I'm the big sad about 319 getting a 30K9 since PTU, and I've been able to get past the very first loading screen after logging in. I just wanted to see Arena Commander. Captain Jocaro, have you looked at any of the problems, like the 30K9? 30K9 that's the one that's fucked, that's entirely fucked, right? Or is that something? I don't know all of the error codes. Because if I remember correctly, you had the same problem with 318, where you just couldn't log in for some reason. What's the theme of the show? Hangar Cargo? We're going to talk a little bit about the tractor beams, which have been announced, and we'll talk about Squad 42 update, and we'll look at the ISC and everything. But you had it in 318, right? Where like you were entirely locked out of it. Oh, is it about the incident in the officer's wardroom where the admiral was badly introduced to a bucket of blue paint, and he even got red eyes from the incident? No, but it's an interesting. It's something that everyone does all the time, so I'm going to partake in a little bit of tomfoolery when it comes out. So it could be that your internet is blocking it out there, Captain. Maybe try a VPN and see if that changes it, because it could be that you're blocked from accessing the servers. That may also be the one that you can fix with going into Arena Commander, free flight, hopping into a bed, then logging out or whatever. So I don't know if that still works since it's a new Arena Commander. So you can't even get to the main login screen, Jacaro, is that it? You can't get to the main menu. So something's blocking your connection. That sounds like a computer issue or an activation issue. Yeah, running as admin or running a VPN and seeing like that. There could be just something that's blocking your ability to log into the game. Build a new PC. I don't think a PC would help that. Can you hear me now? Looks like it's going through, but I don't know. Yeah, it's going. I just have to relaunch. Every time I touch my mic, it kind of messes it up sometimes. Hey, Luna. Both ISEs because this week's a part 2. We watched part 1 last week. We're watching part 2 this week. But no, I was saying all the Mickelsons are all over the fucking Star Wars these days. I'm like fairly certain it's just a clan too. Like it's just all of the family. I think I want to say that Lars is the eldest son, or maybe the brother of the one who was in Andor. I'm not muted anymore, but yeah. Thank you, New Soul. Yeah, thank you very much. I am going to take this Saturday that we should be doing the Captain's Table. I'm going to use it to finish getting all of my parts finished for the part 4 of Complete History of Star Citizen lore. Because the last time I tried to tackle it, I realized, dear God, it's getting confusing. Because it's like which systems are discovered when, and it's not always clear, and CIG doesn't have a fucking guide for it, so... Eons ago, I was on DSL and I kept having problem installing games on Steam, only really big ones. I'd watch download about 80% and just break. In the end, I'd spoken to my ISP and turned out they were throttling my bandwidth after fixed download cap. Not a usage limit, just a single download. Had to change ISPs and when I was able to install those big games just fine. Check your provider, you'd be surprised what they get up to, especially if you're not in the US. There's plenty of places that have like restrictions on what you can and can't like access, so... Are you in the US? It's Spectrum? Spectrum can fuck over that. It can fuck you over with that. Nice. Congratulations, Max. Oh yeah, I know the task job is hard when it comes to that because it's hard doing the Pyro project, making sure the info is correct. Yeah, because Pyro is even more confusing because it's different. Like everything you can find is wrong. But by the way, y'all, if you know what the lore of Pyro, you don't. It's completely not, like what they still have is wrong. It's entirely wrong. I had Spectrum for a long time and I got rid of them because another company came in with fiber and that's what I've been using since then. And it's great. I can take like a 40-minute video, like one of my my monthly reports, and it uploads in like 10 minutes. Like it's like, yes. Paul Inquiry Minds, what you know your opinion on the Hull C? The Hull C? It's a ship. Looks neat. I don't really like, it's not my kind of thing, so it's hard for me to tell. Yeah, I was lucky enough that the alternative I went for is cheaper than Spectrum and had a fixed use date and gave me guaranteed 1 gig up, gig down speeds. I'm like, And literally in the last month, they realized how many people they were losing to this new startup. So they just laid down fiber in my neighborhood and came back begging, being like, "We'll give you 50% off our normal prices, so you get this at $25 cheaper than an alternative." And I'm like, "And then you're gonna raise my prices next year? Go fuck yourself." And it was so bad because they kept knocking on our door and scaring the shit out of my wife because she works from home. So she's the same blue car going up to a house and dude bangs really hard on our door every single day for a week. It's like, take a fucking hint, my brother. Like, fuck off. Yeah. Well, it's to the point where I told my wife, take a picture of their license plate, send it to her and send it to the cops. Like, Jesus Christ. I mean, what am I gonna do? Pull out a shotgun and shoot the dude? I just went up to the door because we didn't know who the fuck he was, and then finally, he walked up to the door, and I opened the door, and he's like, "Hey, I'm with Spectrum," and I was like, "No, leave," and he left, and he hasn't come back yet. But it's like, Jesus, you're in Texas. It's acceptable to answer the door with a gun. I live in a neighborhood with a lot of kids. The thing is that he wasn't in my house. He wasn't around my house when I was home. He was coming to the house when my wife was home working and I was at work. The kids need guns. I don't know if the kids having guns is a protection against penetration, against over-penetration. I now know he does. He didn't have any markings on his car. That was the thing. We didn't know who he was and why he kept coming back. Not only do we have a no solicitor sign, the entire housing complex has a giant no solicitor sign that they never listened to. Yeah, like it's one of those things where we knew it was a solicitor. We'll get back onto the topic, though. The point of that whole story was, I've had a week. If he's at your door, what you can do is go and let out the air of his tires. His tires, he parked across the street from me, so I'd have to get out of the house and go to his door, to his car, and let out the tires. Let me put it this way: I just wanted him out. So the second he said he was from Spectrum, I was like, "Oh, get out." He gave me about 2 seconds to explain. He gave me about 2 seconds to explain, and I said, "No." And he left. I mean, like you all were saying, they answered the door, and I was tempted. I was seriously tempted with the amount of times he banged on the door and kept bothering us. Kept bothering my wife. That when he was finally home when I was there, I was tempted. I'm like, it's gonna take me too long to go out and get the shotgun and bring it out to the front. Well, he's not the only solicitor. We get solicitors all the time. Like, I'm not a big no solicitors guy, especially if you're new to a neighborhood, because both my my solar panels and my pest control folks and my security folks, all three of them, were solicitors. They came in because they saw that we had just moved in and were like, "Hey, we're doing this deal with your neighborhood. And I was like, that's nice. Thank you for coming in and let's talk. It was that kind of thing. Like, I don't mind that. It's just more of a, I've been here for bloody 3 years now. Don't call and ask me about, you know, random shit. I'm done. I've already had it. I do love how the Americans immediately go to guns. Not necessarily. I'm not immediately going to guns. I didn't go immediately to guns. If I was there the first time, I would have answered the door and told them no. But the fact that he kept coming back, that's what was scary. And sometimes somebody needs to be threatened for them to leave. And there's a difference between just like this, you know, and that's what he was doing. Like, stranger comes to your door, bangs on your door constantly for like 4 days straight. That's suspicious. And an unmarked vehicle. Sorry, Sin. We were talking about a very personal thing that happened. I'm going to bring up the ISC so we get off this topic.
So basically,
listen.
So basically,
the reason why you have an axe by your door is not because of solicitors. It's because of the one of many eldritch abominations which could and does exist in and around your home. Let's be real here. We all know the answer. That's just for getting to your car in the morning. Australia's been forced to melee build only builds. That's the reason why. It's my theory as to, like, apparently in the Warhammer 40k community, they're big chaos players in Australia, and my argument is that's because they live in the embodiment of chaos. And also, they have to use melee weapons only. So like, both of those things are just like, mwah. Later, T-Pow.
NAPU is what we like to call it. It was like USPU before. We had Intel PU. We had the Austin guys. I'm not sure if they had an acronym. So I guess North America PU made sense.
Do you like NAPU as a name?
Yeah, it's all right. It sounds like NABU almost.
I messaged Dr. Chad McKinney. I actually put him on Twitter. I said, you will never not be the senator from Nepu.
Why should we care about cargo? Or why should you care about cargo? And to me, the answer is because I never thought of Star Citizen as just FPS. In fact, I would say the thing that makes me the most excited about Star Citizen is that it's a whole world of people who have their own ambitions and goals, and they're interested in different things. And to me, cargo represents a way to get into the world, to play with your friends in order to engage with other players, even in this dynamic way. You have all of this player interaction that comes around hauling the cargo, dealing with pirates, hiring people to defend yourself from pirates. And it generates this whole kind of economy and simulation of player interactivity. And I think this kind of thing is at the root of what makes Star Citizen special. Today in the game, we've had all of this, what I call instantaneous cargo.
When you're in the real physical world, things don't just appear and disappear in your car, right? A person going to Costco, they don't just click on a few things in the kiosk and it magically appear at the back trunk of their car.
That kind of magic way of opening inventory is
like
going to disappear, and it's going to become that warehouse inventory.
With these new changes with the freight platform and the cargo grid and inventory container boxes and needing to move things manually with the tractor beam, it is going to add a certain amount of friction into that whole experience.
The benefit of manual loading is really that you get to choose how you organize your cargo and how you get to load it on your ship. You know, you've got one guy that's loading the bigger boxes with the vehicles. You have your other friend that's loading in, you know, your ship weapons. Another maybe is loading up commodities for a long haul. And you can organize that, snap everything to the cargo grid, tractor
This guy
beam it onto your
probably
ship,
does.
and head out with your friends for an adventure across the verse.
The cargo career is at the heart of what Star Citizen aims to achieve. Not just a universe of exploration and conflict, but one of commerce and opportunity as well. And last week we shared the first part of its next iteration with a discussion of freight elevators, instanced and persistent hangars, varied cargo boxes, and a new cargo grid that'll expand the possibilities of your ships in new and exciting ways. So here in part 2, we're gonna dive a little deeper into the systems underpinning it all, starting with how we intend inventory to evolve next.
This uses the whole C.
And speaking of inventory changes, this leads us to what I think is one of the other very big transformations that's happening with these new sets of features.
It's fucking
So
amazing.
instead of having something like a magical bag of holding, you actually have a place where you can go to put your items, to store them, and you know that it's safe while you go out and do future travels. One thing that we want to do is really kind of physicalize inventory in terms of you need to be at a specific location to use that inventory and management. So this gives us a lot of benefit across the game where you know exactly where your stuff is and where to get it and where to go to organize it.
Now you'll be accessing that inventory via...
Those are drugs. That's a lot of drugs. Like I've moved enough of those to know that's drugs. I don't buy that ship, but still having but still have an opinion on it. I don't really have an opinion on it. It's okay. Like it's fine for what it is. I think it has the whole siege just has to wait on the like rest of the gameplay to catch up with it. Paul, no, I think this is, I want to say Neon. I think this is Neon. It could be, no, this isn't Maze, is it? I don't think it's Ultra Toxin. I'm trying to remember what the blue one is. This is Maze? It's Maze. Okay. So this is the good shit next to Slam.
And where to go to organize it.
Now you'll be accessing that inventory via the freight platform and the hangars. You'll be using the freight platform to put it down. If you want to take something out, you use the freight platform to take it out. And you can use these inventory container boxes that I mentioned previously in order to optimize that kind of hauling. Let's say you realize you have a lot of guns that you want to take with you. Well, in the kiosk inventory management screen, you can move those items into a single box to aggregate them together so that you just use one pass with the tractor beam in order to move it all onto your ship. It also means that you'll have the ability to haul larger things in the game more efficiently by taking them and putting them into these larger boxes, such as ship items that maybe you purchased or stole.
If you want to do some kind of
I know some people are confused by this. What they're doing is they're meeting you halfway, you cretins. you heathens, they're meeting you halfway, you dirty hippies. Which is Futurama reference, by the way. Which is, instead of having to figure out how to physicalize inventory, they're going to give you all your inventory in a screen, and then you're going to move everything in that screen, in that kiosk, in your hangar, and then it'll spawn on a elevator and show up in your hangar. So it's basically like the back end is pulling everything in and then kind of pulling it out. So you don't have to like take all of your guns and put it into a container. It'll automatically store your guns into the container. So you don't have to worry about all of that. It'll just automatically store them in. It might take time, like they might have like a timer of some kind, but yeah, it's basically a spawner. Yeah, but the inventory, the way that they describe that, the whole inventory kiosk is that's where you can see all of your inventory. So it'll see all of your inventory that's available, and then you'll say, oh, I'm gonna move all of this stuff into this inventory container, and that container can then go into my ship. And so but that'll obviously take time. I don't think it'll pull from everywhere, but as long as you have it in that like location. Yeah, you pick and choose what you want from your own inventory that you've stored at that location, probably in the cargo area. So I put my gun rack. I put my guns in the gun rack one at a time. I can't wait. Like, I mean, what they're talking about with these 2 episodes is basically that the gun racks are going to start mattering a lot, because that's the only way you're going to be able to store guns is on those gun racks.
Underground assaulting mission, you just bring your big guns and everything, and you also load that into your
Then it loads to the elevator and spawns in the hangar. I have a feeling that what they'll do is the hangar elevators will just be like a spawner, effectively. Once you have everything, then you call it to your hangar, then you'll hear some noise like and gears turning, and then after a few minutes you'll see a timer, and then after a few minutes you'll see the door open to the elevator, and there will be all of your gear, your inventory ready to go.
ship. So everything is going to be really physicalized and no more kind of magic stuff popping here and there.
In addition to the freight platform access, we want to give players the ability to access smaller items without having to go to a hangar. And for this, we're going to add some kind of what I call an item bank. And this is just like a secure box kind of access point in the landing zone so that you don't have to go to a hangar, and it'll look very similar to the other personal inventory interactions. And you can move smaller items around there, such as handguns or...
Freight platforms still sound pretty magical. They are, but they're magical in the sense that they pull them out of infinite space and put them into your physical hangar. What they mean is that it's no longer just going to pop into your hangar anymore. You have to actually load it, or pop into your ship anymore. You have to actually load it into your ship. So, and there'll be time associated with it. And what he's saying here is kind of like a drop box that you have, like those, I think originally was going to be all of those, lockers that you see right before security. That's where you can like dump all your stuff into those lockers. So capsules, all those capsules. Yes. Thank you, Silky. Yeah. We no longer see the magic tricks. They're all done behind the scenes of smoke and mirrors.
Or meta pins. But again, tying it to a physical location in the game and getting rid of this kind of magic. We're taking that and also applying it to the inventory in the vehicles. Right now in the game, you can hit I while you're inside of a vehicle, and you'll see a similar kind of invisible magical inventory for the vehicle. We're going to be getting rid of that and instead replacing it with a combination of access points like glove compartments in the ship, as well as those inventory container boxes, so that you'll still be able to haul personal items and larger vehicle parts between locations in the game, but you'll have to do it in a way that's physically tied to actual entities that are attached to the cargo grid, as well as exposing it in a way for people to be able to reclaim them from a wreckage or maybe even pirate.
So what that sounds to me is that instead of having individual locations like this cupboard has this much SCU and this little glove box is this much SCU, you will still have a whole ship inventory, but you can only access it from very specific parts on the ship. Which is, again, seems like a halfway measure. It's like, instead of having to physicalize every single fucking place that you can store something on a ship, which could be pretty time consuming for larger ships, they're just going to make those places access points. So you can just get access to everything you want to in those little things, but it'll still be limited to the amount of cargo space that the ship has. So they're kind of meeting halfway between the ultimate sim and the kind of just like a super casual sort of thing.
So, lots of changes coming with everything being physicalized, everything stored in boxes, and no more magic bag of holding. But how will you inventory your inventory? Well, that's where the new hangar kiosk comes into play.
Freight elevators are going to be implemented as an access point inside of player hangars, and you'll use a kiosk to interact with the freight platform in order to call things up from your inventory or to put things into your inventory.
The player controls the freight elevator through the freight elevator kiosk because we have to coordinate between 3 different doors. The kiosk is what determines when the door should open, when the door should close, when the cargo get loaded and all that stuff. So that is the physical thing that's basically going to bring up cargo for you and then also like take cargo from you when you sell it.
The kiosk is going to be the center point of the hangar. This is really where you'll manage everything. So it's not just the cargo stuff that you manage through the kiosk. You will be able to manage your inventory, basically bringing up the stuff, sending it back. It's also going to be those small items. You also going to have some sort of inventory box that you will be able to interact with, to put stuff in it. Basically every.
Okay. So what I'm guessing they're saying here is, and this is kind of, it'll be easier to show it than it is for them to talk about it. What from it sounds like is that there is going to be an inventory at stations, like a hangar inventory, where you're going to put it in that inventory and it will disappear from your, it'll stay in that hangar. You probably will have to pay for that hangar storage unless it's in your persistent hangar, and your persistent hangar sounds like is just, you can just leave boxes fucking everywhere and it doesn't really matter. Though it sounds like you can also put it into the storage inventory. That may be where they have to kind of like start talking about it, because I don't think the differences between persistence and instanced hangars is going to start mattering when it comes to that. Instance hangars being like temporary hangars, you're only there for like in and out, whereas the persistence hangars are the ones that are like this is where you store your ship long term. Ignore. Hey, Glass Sword. So it sounds like this is that what they're doing is they're hybriding both commodities and inventory. So now that if you want to store your guns, you have to get a crate, put the gun in the crate, put the crate in the inventory, on the inventory or on the freight elevator, close the doors for the freight elevator, go to your kiosk, say store everything in the freight elevator, and then it'll just disappear. And then when you want to pull stuff out, you say, hey, I want this, and it'll come down from the freight elevator, doors will open, and you can pull that stuff out and put it into your hangar. So it's kind of like both. And a lot of this stuff is, like I said, it's sort of taking the sim elements and trying to simplify it a little. I know a lot of people are like, oh, the loading is going to take forever. It's like, if you're doing stuff in 32 SU cargo crates on larger ships, it won't take a long time. The only exception to that rule is the hull D, which will take you fuck you time. It's absolute go fuck yourself kind of levels of time. But again, the hull D and the hull E are go fuck you levels of cargo. So
everything's gonna go through that kiosk. So everything is central to the kiosk.
It's easy to see how all of this will redefine the open sandbox experience at the core of Star Citizen's persistent universe. But what if a cargo career isn't for you? What if you just like to run the occasional mission? Don't want to spend your time loading boxes or prefer speculating on the market economy around it all? Well, the purview of NAPU is to construe for you, too.
We are going to have missions in the game that latch on to this. So for example, you'll be able to take a mission where a corporation like Crusader will ask you to haul their cargo for them. And this is an opportunity for players to engage with this kind of gameplay of hauling and manual loading without having such a large investment in the game. Right now, cargo has largely been required to have a large investment, speculation, and risk on the part of the players. And where we're going is we're going to be reducing that risk for certain sets of players who don't want to engage with that kind of speculation, while still allowing them to have this kind of fun.
Will I still be able to put, I just saw that, 3 numbers in your 890 jump? Yeah, you should be able to. You'll still have to drive, you'll have to drive them in. That's another good question is, will you be able to put ground vehicles in the freight elevator or into inventory and then pull them from inventory and then load them onto the ships? That's another great question of how they're going to deal with ground vehicle stuff. I think Chad McKinney talked about that a little bit.
Manual loading, kind of packing experience. On the other hand, if the thing that you are more interested in is that kind of speculation and that kind of trading and wheeling and dealing and trying to just cut the best profit, we are still going to have a certain amount of automated loading in the game. It just won't be instantaneous. You'll have to use a service. It'll cost a little bit.
Ship and ship spawning. Yeah, I don't know how much that's going to work though, because you're still going to have to get that vehicle onto that location where it's got to spawn on the ship. Because you're not going to be able to like spawn that thing in the middle of nowhere. It'll have to be in the local hangar inventory to be able to spawn it into your ship. And at that point, it's just loading the damn thing into your ship. Like, that's what it is. So, like, how do they do that? The answer is, in my opinion, is just do with the cargo mechanics. would be the similar thing. Because that point it's just a complicated issue of like, because then you have to like, say you want to load a Nova onto your Hercules. Well, now that system is going to interact with the cargo system and has to spawn in. But how is it going to spawn in if you're there looking at it? They're going to want to have it a way that you can actually put it in there. Or you can see it being put in, because that's they want to physicalize everything. So it'll ruin that mechanic. So that probably won't happen.
More, it'll take time. You won't have access to your ship while it's being loaded. But, you know, depending on the kinds of gameplay that you're looking for, if you enjoy that more.
Well, at Precious Hangars, you could just leave a Nova in the corner and drive it when you need it. Yeah, I think what you'll need, you'll probably have is what CIG is going to have to do is expand cargoes, like hangars. They're going to have to get bigger, especially, or have a special hangar designed for loading vehicles in, because like generally speaking, when the military is loading in heavy vehicles, or when, you know, people are actually loading vehicles onto like trains and stuff like that, or onto like cargo vessels, usually like I've seen like the cargo vessels that carry cars before, where like they'll literally just drive them on and park them. But they have to have, there's an entire parking lot of just the vehicles at the dock where they drive them on and drive them off. But they have to have an entire space separate from the cargo and everything else. It's got to be its own location. So they'll have to do something similar with vehicles, in my opinion. But is the captain asleep in the chair right there? Yes, he is.
Physical kind of gameplay, we'll have that there for you. If you're more interested in just kind of profit trading, we'll also have a path for you there too. So I think in this kind of new world of cargo and all these new features that we're coming out with, we're trying to make sure that for all the people that are looking to play with this, that there's something there for them. And of course, all of this comes with a large amount of economy tuning that's going to need to rebalance things now that we have physicalized movement, guaranteed friction on the transactions. So all of these things we can use to rebalance it and hopefully make it to where if you're interested in taking high risks, there's a path for you to maybe get a better profit. Vice versa, if you don't want to, there's still a way for you to be able to play the game and not be overly punished. That's going to be an ongoing endeavor, and we'll talk more about that as we get closer to release.
So lots of changes coming to Star Citizen with the work being done by the North America Persistent Universe team. So let's go ahead and let them bring it all home and see if we can't maybe just sneak in one more tiny, big addition people have been waiting for too.
I like this thing. Not visual conception. The ISC capture team really walks like this. I don't doubt it. I realize it's nice to be going in my Conde turret, Taurus's tractor turret underneath that. Might carry bigger and more loads than the handheld. My C1 too. I can't help the whole C players with my SRV. Can I help the whole C players with my SRV? I think you should be able to. They're gonna have to figure out how the SRV works. I think honestly, there's a reason why this is all conceptual right now, is because they haven't fully got the team to, like, they're gonna have to sit down with the ship team. Like, they're gonna have to sit down with the ship teams. They're gonna have to figure out, like, how do we make this work? Because they're gonna need things like the SRV. They're gonna need things like the MPUV as well to be able to like move stuff from point A to point B. So, oh no, we are going to have the SRV soon, which is going to help a little bit. But the system they described sounds exploitative as hell. What do you mean there, Certified Gumbo? I'm interested in hearing what do you mean by exploitative. Does this mean that we will get org hangars in the PU, maybe even rent or hire actual locations? I mean, that was always planned. That was always in their plans, was to actually have physical locations and hangars where you could go store shit. But someone asked, like, we're going to get PU what are we going to get first? We're not going to get persistent hangars first. We're going to get, they said that it's going to be instance hangars first and the persistent hangars to come after persistent habs. So. Oh, for the lost item recover? I don't think so. I mean, they can just add timers to it.
Another big thing that we're working on is unique item recovery. This is something that the fans have been asking for a long time, and we're hoping that it's really going to finally resolve this problem of losing items or losing items mid-mission.
It looks like a simple subject, but there's a lot of little things to think about, like people buying some gear, giving to their friend and claiming it back. What happens to the version that was given to their friends, or even like if your body gets looted by somebody, how do we want to kind of cope with that?
So one of the ideas that we have running right now is that you would have a lost and found within your hab. So if you're playing, your mission crashes, you lose your progress, but you can go back to your hab, restart that mission, grab that item, and continue on where you left off. And we're really hoping to apply this to subscriber items and other unique items as well.
I think in the long run, we have a lot of plans. Just really trying to build out a feature set that can incorporate a lot of different ships, that can incorporate your teams, that allows you to be more in control. It allows you to try to find the best ways that work for you and your group. And right now, that's the main thing we're working on.
Our universe is big. We're going to keep building more systems, more planets, and we really want to find a way to make that exciting. We want to have you take goods from one planet to the other, explore places that you haven't seen, loading up, organizing all of your gear.
I think it basically covers, I'm sure it covers anything that was purchased with real cash and also subscriber items. But yeah, I don't see that's a problem. I mean, all they have to do is add a timer to it. It wouldn't be too difficult to add a couple of minutes to it. And as much as it's exploitative, it's like, do you want to sit there and get the same set of armor and give it to a friend and keep doing that? All you got to do is make the thing not sellable. It's not that difficult. Unique armor item. It has a unique ID to it. You just give it a tag that says not sellable if it's a actual subscriber item, and then it's not sellable. You can give them armor, but like armor doesn't fucking matter that much. I don't think it ever will matter that much. What system is this planet Pico in? It's in the system Nunya. The Nunya system.
All of your equipment, having it snapped to a grid, keeping everything safe. And it's a huge part of Star Citizen and where we want to go with the game.
That is a summary of that we're working towards for Physicalized cargo. Now, this is going to be an ongoing process, starting with the first set of changes coming out with 320, automated loading in the whole.
You want to hear CIG state that they will keep pledge items separate from PES? They won't. Why would they want to keep them separate from PES? If you shoot somebody with pledge items, people should be able to steal it. You just should be able to also get it back. Hey, Nick. So is it lootable? Yeah, it should be. And you can also find a lot of those items in loot tables as well now, and probably always will. But you won't be able to sell them. Like it's not that difficult. Like the solution I'm offering isn't really that difficult to understand. You can get an item, give it to your friend, reclaim it, and you just can't sell either of those items. Does it mean you have infinite amounts? Yeah, but like, okay. It's just a cool armor. That's all it is. It's not like going to give you an actual advantage in the game. Yeah, that's what I mean. You just can't sell them in shops. But if you looted the item in a loot box, it should be able to be sellable. But if someone loots it off of your dead corpse, it's still not lootable, not sellable. It's just a cool item. Player-to-player trading and selling is unavoidable. Yeah, but I mean, who the fuck is going to want to buy that shit? They're so goddamn common, and they'll still be available on the loot tables. So, also items degrade. That's another point. Items are also temporary because eventually they will degrade, and you have to repair them. Everything is degradable, just like the universe. Entropy. Just like everything in the universe. The Star Citizen universe is filled with entropy, and we all hate it.
With the whole C and the new packing system.
Exploited by those who don't participate in the game? What do you mean? If you give someone someone who spent $4 a UEC printer, exploitable by those who don't participate in the game. What do you mean? Like, if you're not selling the item, if you can't sell the item, how the fuck is it a UEC printer? I'm just really confused by that. If you say you cannot sell the item that you purchased money for, you can't sell it in game, how is that a UEC printer? That's it. That's all you gotta say. You can't sell it if you purchase in game if you purchased it on the store. Problem solved. And degradation's another thing you added to it. Eventually, it'll break down and disappear unless you fix it, which you have to pay in-game money for. But you can still sell it to other players. You can always sell everything to other players. Like, that's never going to stop it. Like, it's against the rules, but it can still happen. Uncle Nurgle's coming for your gear and guns. Nurgle's love will embrace us all one day. It's an observable practice. To do what? Sell their gear? No, I'm not what we're talking about. Okay, so you get items that you can't sell. Like Test Pilot, I don't know what you're saying, because what I'm hearing is you think that people can make money off of an item that I'm saying the solution is to not be able to have a value in credits. That you can't sell it at kiosks with other places. And if you're saying, oh, well, someone could sell it to other players, so like none of the items in game are that valuable. They're not like unique items that are I win buttons. They're just flashy shit, like gold painted armor that already exists in the game. There's no unique armor set that is exclusive to subscribers, as far as I understand. Why do we want this as part of the... It's not part of the economy! Like, it's not part of the NPC economy. It wouldn't help. It wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't hurt. Like... What the fuck? I don't know how to get this through your head, Test Pilot. The answer is, what you're saying would happen anyways. It would happen no matter what you did. And you can't make it so that nobody can get access to their gear. Like, they lose their gear, they're done. Because people paid money for it, and that's how the law works. They need to have access to that content in some way, shape, or form, not just you're fucked. Yes, I know that, but you're never going to stop that process from happening. People will sell it from to other players all the time. People pay billions of UEC stuff for this right now in the PU, then they're idiots. And it's not going to hurt the economy. It's just going to make people stupid. Like, it doesn't matter, dude. People will sell their ships that they purchased in-game for millions of UEC. They'll sell their ships that they purchased with cash for millions of UEC to other players. That's going to always happen. He's in the other chat, that's why. And on top of that, it doesn't count as that person's gear anymore. It still doesn't count as that gear just because you give it to another player. We're fundamentally disagreeing on this, Test Pilot. That's all I'm going to say, is that I think you're wrong. And I think that you're overblowing a situation which is ridiculous. Because it's always going to be like that. People are going to be selling stuff to each other in game, no matter what you do, and there's no game mechanic that can stop that. That is something that has happened since the dawn of online gaming. It's called the black markets. They exist. They will always exist. When you have a solution for solving black markets, call me, because you probably win a fucking Nobel Prize in economics.
System that's coming out there, but we'll continue this work of adding these things like freight elevators.
All right, Test Pilot, how would you solve this problem where people can still get the gear that they paid cash for paid money for, and not create a black market. Honestly, tell me that's your solution. You can't sit here and say, I don't like this solution, and not have your own solution. That's not how the world works. And stop anyone from being able to sell shit on their own, like the shit that they earn in game for actual money. So that's not an explanation. Keep it separate doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? Because you said earlier, keep it separate from PES. What does separate from PES mean? So non-lootable. You're saying that no one can loot it and that no one can use it but the buyer. So you want to make it so that they're permanently attached to players and cannot be removed. People will just sell their accounts or just give the items because the items are still giftable online. You can still purchase the item. Subscriber items are automatically giftable. So you can still send me 10,000 UEC and I can send it to you right away. It would also mean that players could always have that item on them no matter what. So you wouldn't even need a return item. You couldn't lose it. So it means that players would always have, you would just pay money and you'd automatically get gear that was unlosable, unlootable. It's forever attached to your character. So there's no downside. You want to give people an advantage in the game. Well, so will black markets, my dude. Like, what I just said is the same thing as you said. So the answer is we both have the same solutions to the same problem, or different solutions to the same problem, which are both exploitable. So the end of the story, I'm moving on.
Hanger instancing, persistent hangers, inventory containers, all of that.
Yes, it does. It still affects the in-game economy.
And continuing into subsequent releases. So I hope you enjoyed hearing about it, and I think I'll be back a few more times to get into more details about those things.
I look forward to seeing what they're developing in the future and then also showing it off to the community and team.
People will just pay in-game money for it still. It'll still be possible. If I kill you and you have the cosmetic, the armor I receive is just treated as armor. I don't like that either. Because it always means that, because as a result, you always have that item and you can never lose it. So there's no downside to it. Which means that if you come out and pay money for the item with real cash, it means that you have an advantage in the game. You're paying for advantage. People already have a problem with buying ships for real money. But having a thing that will always come back to you no matter what, and you don't have to pay anything in game for it, that's already a problem. Without any risk of losing it, that's already a problem. No, we won't. We won't have hyperinflation because of a golden suit, my dude. Chill out.
So what did we learn in the last 2 weeks? Whew. Well, we learned that freight elevators will allow us to fulfill the dream of fully physicalized cargo. The instance hangars will give us the time to load and unload our ships without creating too many traffic jams. That persistent hangars will be the first real estate play.
No one cares. You know how fucking, like, let me put it this way. Anyone who's purchasing this, we'll pull it up. All right. Log in my account. Here. Anyone who's purchasing this for real cash is an idiot. Or for in-game cash is an idiot. Like, some of these I purchased myself. Some of these were gifted to me by CIG. Thank you, CIG. But like the Finley Stormwall thing, the like that stuff, like, who cares? Because on top of that, all of it is still lootable. So you could still sell it for actual cash in-game because you can loot it.
Players can decorate and call their very own. That cargo boxes are expanding to hold all.
I understand exactly what you're saying. I exactly know what you're saying, Test Pilot. You're saying that people will spend a lot of money or even a little bit of money on an item which someone can then reproduce every single day or every 5 seconds and then sell it again. And by doing that, it means that item is everywhere and people are selling their cash. I get it. All right. So everyone is selling their unique hanger flare. Let's just say there's an actual market for that, which there probably is, but let's say it's a massive market for that. Everyone wants their sweet prestige or origin racing jacket. It's just the hot shit of this summer. So everyone's buying it. How does that affect the economy? The UEC doesn't come out of nowhere. It still has to be earned to be sold in the first place. And the player isn't going to hoard the money. They're going to use that to buy goods, or they have to use it for the transactions because the transactions have fees attached to them. They're going to have to use it for hanger fees or some other aspect of the gameplay. So it's going back into the economy or going back into the game and disappearing. So how does that create hyperinflation? Because you also have to, you're not going to be able to just message this anywhere. You have to show up at a location, hand it off to this person physically, and they have to pay you for it. So you're going to have to spend fuel. You're going to have to spend hanger fees. You're going to have to risk your life, all for armor that you can loot and or there are still versions you can purchase in game. Like, I don't see where the logic is. Like, how does this create hyperinflation? Well, the idea of this, Luna, is that using this system, you could sell someone your armor and then claim it's lost, and then it'll show back up in the loot box after it's lost, in your lost and found box, it's undisclosed amount of time later. It's just a video game. I get the idea of inflation, though. Inflation in an MMO is a big deal. There's a problem with it. But it also discounts the idea that CIG hasn't already dealt with inflation with the thing that everybody hates, which is money sinks. I think Test Pilot just left. Okay, bye, Test Pilot. I'm sorry. Like none of that made any sense. Once per quarter, you could just put a timer on it. Like once every 24 hours, you can subscribe it. This is observer every game economy that has microtransactions, that has let microtransactions bleed over. Okay, so you are still here. Okay, so how does this create an inflation? Tell me the part where this inflates the economy. How does this cause inflation in the economy? Because in other games, the player economy and the in-game economy usually are separate, or they're merged together in some sort of gestalt entity of craziness, like Eve. I just don't see how this hyperinflates the economy. Because to inflate the economy, you need to have so much access. There needs to be so much UEC floating around that the actual prices for commodities or for average things increases because so many people have so much money. But Star Citizen has built-in money sinks in the things of like every time you send a transaction, there's money you have to spend in fees. There are going to be hangar fees. There are going to be storage fees. There's going to be repair. Like you're going to have to repair stuff over time. Yeah, there's a bit of a delay, but it's like 30 seconds. But I don't understand how this hurts the economy. You said this is a player experience. How does this hurt the player experience? I'm gonna have to use the restroom anyway, so I'll be right back. I'll let Test Pilot cook, and I'll be right back, y'all. Don't go anywhere. UEC is the purchasable. Yeah, but that's always going to be the case. UEC is purchasable will always be purchasable. That is separate from sub items, though. Anyone can purchase anything with UEC, and UEC is purchasable. That's always been the problem. So your problem is with UEC being purchasable, not the cosmetic items.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Drugs.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up. It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up. It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
I'm just an old-fashioned cowboy.
Did you not lose your chat? Oh, yeah, you did.
I'm fly. I'm pilot. I'm fly. I'm pilot.
Stop it, chat. Stop it. You've been warned. All right. Test Pilot, I think I will just say that I think you're discounting the amount of money sinks or the ability that CIG has to adjust items and also the degradation of items. I think it's a little Chicken Little to say this is going to destroy the economy. It might create a bubble at some point. That'd be fun to watch. You know, a whole new, tulips or what was that thing that everyone was doing? Not crypto. NFTs. There you go. A whole NFTs or tulip situation Star Citizen. That'd be fantastic to watch people blow themselves up. No, we're done. We're talking in circles now. So, all right. let's move on to the next thing, which is the monthly report. Not the monthly report, the roadmap roundup, which is pretty cool. All right. So, roadmap roundup. Every 2 weeks they do a roundup. I'd always say, here's the thing, because everyone loses their minds when there's no or like a little bit of updates on the roundup. So always use the roadmap with like the brief explanatory guide, which I think is at the bottom. Yeah, this companion guide. That's always something I would suggest doing, because a lot of people don't realize, and I'll go to the main office for this one, because I think a lot of people don't realize that when nothing happens or one of the things happens, people are like, wow, that's nothing. That's terrible. There's nothing's going on because only one thing has been talked about the roundup. That's not what the roundup is for. The roundup is for, they change things week to week. It's mostly to tell you when something gets removed from the schedule or gets added to the schedule or gets added to the release view or removed from the release view. That's all it is. It's just a onboarding or offloading section of the monthly report, or the on the roadmap. That's all it's designed to do. And you update the roadmap frequently when they do the roadmap update. And as I always plug Shiny with Shiny Hobo with the Shiny Tracker, which does a real-time update where it takes what was updated last time and then does the delta change, so what changed since last time, every week. Also does in-depth breakdowns of what's changed and how things. This is a huge thing. It's called shinytracker.app. Look it up. It's fantastic. It's a great resource if you want to try to follow along for a lot of this. This week was actually pretty big. So release view. So these are things that have been added to the release view for 3.20. So with an alpha 3.20.x, the Argo SRV and the tractor beams, vehicle tractor beams, which is nuts because we've known for that both of these were pretty much done back in July or June. The SRV was done in July. And I think June was, or August was when they talked about how the tractor beams were done. And so I had theorized that 3.21 was going to have the SRV and the tractor beams because it was just like it just didn't make the cutoff. Apparently, they're trying to stick it into a 3.20.x patch, which my guess would be the CitizenCon patch or the IAE patch, one of the two, which makes sense. Weepy, it's done. The last one is also the progress tracker, the Origin G12. Mate, the G12. This is the other one, other than the fucking X1. Am I remember the name of it right? So the X1. Can't say that I really want the G12, even as a Drake man. The X1, yeah, the Origin hover bike. That's what I remember. I'm trying to remember why I was angry about it. The hover quad. It's a hover bike, but it's a hover bike it's in gray box right now, or in white box heading into gray box. The G12 is being worked on. Yeah, so it's like, okay, the last two vehicles that you could legitimately sit there and go, CIG, what the fuck? Why are these not being done? They're finally taking them down, which is nice. I will give CIG credit where credit is due. You're finally kicking the last two what the fuck boxes off of your list, which is good. and you're not adding new what the fuck boxes other than the Galaxy, which was a what the fuck box, but it's kind of a lighter what the fuck box because it's still a smaller ship, but it's good. G12 is not a hover bike. G12 is a racer. It's a four-wheeled ship. It's basically an Ursa for two people. It's a cross between. It's like it's faster than an Ursa, but slower than a open top racer like the Cyclone. So it's a combination between the two. It's closed, pressurized canopy, so you don't have to wear a spacesuit, but it's smaller, more of like a rover than it is like a racer. Later, Jaybird. No, you don't get a free X1 with the 400. It's the Origins Ursa. Yeah, it's stuff that nobody cared about ever. Like no one really cared about the X1 and no one really cared about the G12. I'm sure it has its fans. You know, it's like me and the Genesis Starliner. There's few of us, but we like it. I didn't buy one, but I liked it. It's a ground Vic they're going to struggle to craft gameplay for. Nah, it makes sense. Like just like the Lynx, it'll be a luxury vehicle, and it also has a closed canopy. So you're not going to use as much resources. Like I need to emphasize this. I need to really emphasize this. You all are not prepared for this game when the resource system that they're working on is added. That is not the game you are playing right now. The game you play when the resource system is added is going to be harsher, it's going to be more unfair, and it's going to be absolutely devastating to your time. Because everything will have degradation and some sort of resource that it needs to run on. Your ships, your vehicles, even your spacesuits will need power, will need atmosphere, will need like a habitation, life support, and like atmosphere, and of course like heating and cooling. So that sort of thing is going to be very much a problem. It's not just for like engineering crews, it's for the whole game. Because they want to make things like specialized EVA suits for you to go out and EVA. Your suit right now that is able to like have infinite EVA fuel when you're going around in space, that's not going to happen. You'll have to use your multi-tool tractor beam to move around in space, or push and pull off of ships. You won't have EVA fuel unless you have an EVA pack or an EVA suit. Your suit that you're wearing now, the suits that you're wearing now are more like undersuits. They're more like emergency suits, as you were. So. The important thing is that we'll be unprepared together. The real Star Citizen is the friends we made along the way. But it's also what will create emergent gameplay and feed the economy. Exactly. Like, you're going to have to repair your ship. You're going to have to refuel your ship. You're going to have to make sure you're going to have to replace your, like, components frequently because they'll burn out and get damaged. There'll be a point where you can't repair them anymore. You just have to buy new ones. So if you've got a really special snowflake component, you have to weigh the advantages of using it versus not using it. If you use it, you may never be able to replace it, or it may be incredibly expensive to replace it. So if you overuse it, it will end up being useless. And the CIG is going to balance these sort of things out a little bit. But I can almost guarantee you that CIG will err on the side of making things harder to acquire and keep around than making them last longer. So you can imagine Elite Dangerous had its engineering system. You had to go out and do a bunch of these different things for hours and hours to get each engineering piece, which is unique. Imagine if that broke every 7,000 times it was used. And you have to do that whole system all over again. I don't think CIG is going to go that grindy, but I wouldn't put it past them that they make that sort of thing a reality. Fallout 4 style power cores for your suits. Yeah, but you can buy them. Like, you'll be able to buy those sort of things in lots of places, but not everyone will have it. So in the more rural, remote, and more like outlaw systems, those sort of materials will be harder to come by. They'll be more expensive to purchase from NPCs, and have a greater risk of selling from players to NPCs or players to players in those areas because you can always get jumped. But in places that are more secure, you can buy them. But if you are wanted or have bad reputation, it'll either be super expensive or impossible for you to go to those locations to purchase them. This is the reason why the reputation system is so important, because you can't just be a dick and get away with it. You can't even have an alt account that's a goody two-shoes that just sends stuff to your pirate account, because you'd have to meet your pirate account somewhere, transfer it over, or find a drop location, drop it off, hope it's secure, then get onto your pirate account and go pick it up and put it away. And you also have guilt by association. So if you just send your pirate account money, it's being like you sending money to a terrorist organization. You're going to get negative reputation. And if you try to drop off the money, you're going to risk how you drop it off. The handoff location is going to be difficult. You're always going to have problems in that transaction. It's going to be difficult, which is the point. They wanted to make it more difficult to be an outlaw and live outside the law, but it also is more rewarding because everything you do is more fun. It's like playing a survival mode on a game. It's hard mode. Don't forget, CR got inspiration from Dark Souls, yeah. Was there a Star Citizen ad you got, Luna Maria? That's great. The game does feel way too easy right now. Like, we shouldn't be able to just go around the universe with such little cost. The reason why is because they want you to play the game and test it. That's right, they haven't done any of the things they want to do yet. Also, the systems aren't in the game yet. So.
Ever take away my space game.
Agent FBA just resubscribed for 18 months.
Thank you so much for that 18 months of Prime sub there at JFBA. You're a very important pupper. Very impressive pisser. If any pedestrian, this is your fault. The reason I'm drinking tonight. Shots and cheers in chat, y'all. Shots and cheers. I don't know how we got into that conversation, but it was a good one. What will happen if you give selling... if you give or selling a shipped modules to your friends in game from buy with real money? I think you always have the ability to buy it back. We're on easy mode. Right now we are, yeah. CIG has been absolutely frothing at the mouth to add Death of a Spaceman to the game. They really want to do it. But they keep getting, every time they try to get close to it, everyone reminds them that this game is fucking broken. It's very buggy, and there are still problems with it. And until you work out those problems, adding Death of a Spaceman is a terrible idea. And I don't mean like make it a bug-free experience, because that's impossible. You're never going to get a bug-free experience. Even the most polished games in the universe weren't bug-free. Just make it so that it's not common. The cargo ISCs the past 2 weeks made a few of your org mates quit the game. None of the stuff they said in the cargo ISCs was new. Those were all things that were lifted or kind of filtered out over the last 12 years now. Well, 11 years. 12 years as of next year? This was 2012 when it started, and it's 2023, right? Yeah, so... Paul, I mean, if you sell those ship modules with your with real money and give it to them multiple times in game, they claim over and over again. That's a question of like, insurance fraud. CIG will have something in place for it. Yeah, but I only joined about a year ago and have only begun watching the content. So they purchased the game without doing any research, and then are surprised to find that the plan and features were not what they wanted. Sounds stupid. I mean, $40 is a lot of money to just invest willy-nilly. I wish I had that kind of cash flowing into me. Like, what? Like, I get it if you paid $40 and you played the game and you're like, it's not really what I was planning on. It's good now, but I'm not going to do that. But like, yeah, with like the bugs too. Like the bugs are bad. Like you bought a game that was knowably buggy and had issues. Like, yeah. I feel like they definitely have the skills and resources necessary to fully bug fix the game, but it's just such an early stage. It makes no sense to bug fix right now, which I expect. At least not all the bugs. So let me explain something, just the concept. There's no such thing as a bug-free game. Every game that has ever released has had a bug, because it's impossible to fully test out the game in a way that will prevent bugs or glitches from happening. There is not one perfect game or piece of software that exists, because things do weird things, and you don't have enough time, money, resources, or willpower to go through and smash all of them. It's just most software and video games hopefully get to the point where 99% of the time you are not experiencing anything weird. It's that 1% that someone does something they're not supposed to, or some stars align and shit gets weird. And when you start adding online access to the things, fuck you. Like everything goes out the window. WoW is good, but it's not bug free. There are still bugs in WoW. So like, your first introduction to Star Citizen is refunds Reddit. Well, I mean, let's go on to that topic as well, because this is actually this is a phenomena that I've noticed. Every single time a big publishing joint, Kotaku, PC Gamer, now IGN, releases a big article on Star Citizen and like does it in a negative fashion, or being like, Star Citizen is still in alpha, makes $600 million, still in alpha, just released through alpha 3.2. A lot of people get mad at them. They're like, oh, this is all negative press. CIG makes money when that happens, because all that these outlets are doing is telling people that Star Citizen still exists and is still being made. So a lot of people then find it interesting to look into it and then buy the game. This has been the thing that's happened for years now. Once CIG realized what was actually going on, that's when they stopped responding to these articles, because they tried to do that early on, was like, oh, this is like, you're saying all sorts of terrible things you shouldn't be doing. They stopped doing that because they just realized how much fucking money they're making every time the game journalists open their mouth. Which is why I'm like, if you don't like those sorts of articles, don't read them. A, because there's no point. It's not stuff you haven't heard before. And B, it doesn't hurt the game. Sorry, info runners. This has been shitty. I'm still in my shitty phase of work though, so. You told us, and Algrid and I are in the shits too. Push through it. Yeah. You pull a Joe Rogan and looked into it. That's how most people do. Like, it's one of those weird things where you get so many people saying it's shit that the curious go, why are you all talking about this thing that's shit? and then look into it. And then a lot of times if you do more than a 5-minute like research into the game, you start realizing, oh, that's all just clickbait, isn't it? This game actually exists and you can play it. And, you know, if you stick around long enough, you go, oh, wow, it might actually be a little fun. And then people get a free flight, they play it free flight. It's fucking horrible, but they're like, wow, this is better than I actually thought it was going to be. What the fuck? And then get involved into it. It's like, this is what happens. 600 million is nothing for a game of this scale. 600 million is nothing for a game for 2 games at the same time. Because like that 600 million is also making Squadron 42. So even if you split it by half, that's 300 million per game, not counting marketing. Which, that actually does count marketing. Usually marketing separate from the game budget, but this is actually connected to the game budget. So yeah, it includes marketing. Yeah, that's still a lot of money, but the scale and the scope is still important. Said it, like a dev said at GDC, hate is better than indifference because at least people hate, the people who hate are involved. I've always said the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is apathy. If someone is apathetic about the game, that's when Star Citizen's in trouble. When people no longer care. Like legitimately stop watching videos, stop going to Twitch, stop going to Reddit. When they stop talking about the game, that's when Star Citizen's in trouble. That's when, like earlier this summer, I saw that dip harder than usual and was like, CIG might be in more trouble than they realize. Because I saw the dip, which was harder and longer than it usually is around this time. And then Starfield came out, and now suddenly, it just went right back up. And I think it's twofold. One, a lot of people were disappointed with Starfield because they thought it was going to be something else, and either discovered Star Citizen and went back to Star Citizen, or other people saw Starfield, said, what if I could play this game, but it's multiplayer, and found Star Citizen. Because you can't fucking throw a rock in a space game conversation without both of those things being brought up and compared to each other these days. So. Too many people get into Star Citizen getting enamored by the initial experience and forget during that honeymoon phase it's still in alpha. I went through it, still put in five hours a week and still see. I still put in 5 hours a week during Star Citizen. Starfield's 10 million players is 600 million for Bethesda. It's not that much. Well, we also know that Bethesda probably spent close to 600 million making the game. What's their official one? Was it 300 or 400 million? Plus advertising, which they don't factor into the game budget ever. Whenever you see a game budget said, oh, it's this amount, they never talk about advertising. Because it's just the development, and that's completely separate ballpark. Let me look it up. Look up how much Starfield costs to make. It says 200 million. So it's 200 million easy. It's usually the good rule of thumb is about 30% of your cost to make the game goes into funding. So that's what, $260 million? So if they made $600 million, which is good, really good, in the sales for 10 million players, then that means you're looking at, that's actually not 600 million, because you have to factor into the number of people who have paid only $10 for the what is it called? The system that Microsoft runs. I want to say Play, but that's not it. Game Pass, thank you. My guess is it probably cost them more than 60 million because they had live game ads, which are always more expensive, and they do a live like an IRL video for the game. They fucking push that advertisement everywhere. They spent a lot of money on launch day. There's a lot of money. So I would venture to guess it's probably about half the budget. I would say about $100 million. So about a $300 million project. Oh, some people are saying it's $400 million. Okay. One of the top things I see on the Google search for Starfield's budget is from Star Citizen refunds. It's like, oh, thank you, Star Citizen. Thank you, refundians. Thank you for the information. That it cost $400 million and 500 devs. It took them 7 years. A lot of the other ones are saying it's 200 million. NeoGAF, I'm seeing a source that says between 370 and 540 million dollars. That's for GTA. Oh no. Budget for GTA 5, yeah. $400 million, yeah. So if it cost them $400 million and they made $600 million at launch, that's good. They made back their cost. But very rarely I would assume that they want only to make back their cost. They probably have to double their cost. That's the typical movie estimate. I don't know if it works the same with video games because of the cost of everything, but they probably have to double their the initial like money back compared to the cost of the game. So that would be 800 million, which they could do. They could make $1 billion. Yeah, plus DLCs and stuff like that. They'll be fine. Like, it's a good game. I like Starfield. But, like, that puts it into perspective of, like, how much money you could make. And then how much it costs to make something like that. Who have to pay Game Pass? Microsoft owns Bethesda, so all money that Bethesda makes off of Starfield goes to Microsoft anyways. Delayed, bless you, Paul. Thank you, Weepy. But it keeps into context. Like, Star Citizen's budget sounds ridiculous, but when you look at games of its caliber in most other games, they're about the same. They're pretty on par with a lot of games these days. And a lot of games also don't factor in things like building in a new budget or building in an office, hiring new staff. Like, there's a lot of other factors that are coming into there. So even if you didn't split it 50-50, let's just say Squadron 42 didn't take 300 million. It only took 200 million. Or you add that 160 in, so it's like 200 to 160 million. So let's say that's 360 million, and then Star Citizen costs 400 million. Even if at this moment, that would still put it at around the same ballpark as Starfield, which is probably lower. It'll go up, obviously, because it's going to make more money over time. But you also never factor in the cost of making DLCs or making other factors of like continuing to support the game after the launch, or also sales that will come in after the launch as well. I'm curious, how many CIG CryEngine Lumberyard games are there currently, like new ones? I don't know if there's many. I think they had a massive loss. 3 million players on Game Pass, $100 a year, doesn't cover costs. MechWarrior Online, that's an old game now. That runs on CryEngine. Enjoy it, Weepy. It's a good game. The early game is rough. They do a lot of throw the keys at your face and say good luck, and their hint system sucks. But once you get past that initial stumbling block of learning how to play the game, it becomes really better. They do not handhold you at all, which for a Star Citizen player, it's probably good. Kingdom Come 2. Did they confirm that they're making Kingdom Come 2? GTA 6 projected budget is $2 billion. I am not surprised. Because they're developing for probably the Xbox Series S, the PlayStation 5, is that the correct one out? And then they're probably also developing for the PS6 and whatever the Xbox is coming out after that. Probably doing it for both of them at the same time. Not sure to tell you the truth on Kingdom Come. I'd love to see it. Warhorse deserves more games. I'd love to see more Kingdom Come games taking place in different locations. Because like Kingdom Come 1 kind of tells a nice complete story with Henry and that whole thing. It's not the 30 Years' War, but I'd love to see Kingdom Come take place during the 30 Years' War. You know, or in the 100 Years' War, like Ashencore and those sorts of things. That'd be great. Or during the what is the battle? The Battle of when the Ottomans invaded Austria and like a coalition of European kings came down and stopped them from invading Austria. Vienna, the Battle of Vienna. It'd be cool. You wouldn't do World War One. Nah, the Kingdom Come is set solidly in the medieval era. I could see it doing a 30 Years' War with like pike and shot, but that's not really a... I want that. I love that era. That era is fucking cool as shit. Because it's so, like it overturns so many norms in society. It's like where you could still have knights on armor, but also have people with like effectively rifles. The Battle of Bilbringi? Maybe. I don't know what it's called. You want edible pizza in game. I want edible sushi first. What about pizza sushi? Seasoned rice with mozzarella, Italian spices, and marinara sauce, served hot. Pizza. That's all I want is pizza. Don't get me with that sushi stuff. I know it's not. I know it's traditionally a what is it? Christmas meal, which never. I don't understand a lot of like traditions that people have with foods, especially when it comes to American foods in other countries. Like burgers, pizza, chicken, and that kind of stuff, like fried chicken. I know it's not exclusively American foods, but we usually bring it there because this is America. That's what we do. Unrelated, but what's the best way to get into the 40K universe? In terms of lore or just the models? Because for lore, I would say is read... there's two books I would recommend. Read either the Eisenhorn stories, I think it's called Xenos, is the first one. It's probably the best introduction to the 40K universe. That or For the Emperor, which is about Caiaphas Cain by Sandy Mitchell. Those are the two I would, if you really want to kind of learn the universe, they really kind of guide you into the universe pretty well with both of those stories. You don't have to know a lot about it. and they don't have any Space Marines, so you get to get the average kind of. Well, I guess there are Space Marines in Xenos, but it's kind of later down the line. So, let's pull it up. I actually had it up because I was wondering what it was. They don't have the event schedule or the event map. So West Exhibit Hall, it's this right here. It is absolutely massive. It's actually not too different from what they've had in the past, but the West Exhibit Hall is not too... It's big, but it's not as big as you think. When you get there, you'll see what I mean. Probably just this A section, too. Yeah, I mean, it's the LA Convention Center. It's huge. Of course, there'll be security at the event. Using 2 halls? Okay. But stickers and selling goods. I don't know what like you can't give out stickers? There'll only be one stage hosting presentations throughout both events days. Following the answer above, we want attendees to be able to enjoy all the shows to offer. There will also be a massive second convention hall space where you can expect plenty of activities and social spaces to enjoy, ranging from community booths, a 1-to-1 rideable Drake Dragonfly replica, and so much more. I was reusing that one. Okay. Hey, Loken. Welcome, everyone, from Loken Stream. We're talking about CitizenCon here. A question for you, Loken, which was posed by a chat member. What is the best way of getting into the 40K universe? Evan, I hope I answered your question there. Because the question was, what is the best way of getting into the 40K universe? And I suggested Xenos, the first of the Eisenhorn books, or Caiaphas Cain's first book, For the Emperor. Through the Warp. No, I'm not bartending. I don't have a license, so I legally couldn't bartend in California. I used to have I never had a bartending license in California. I had a bartending license in Tennessee. So. Japanese Christmas dinner is traditionally KFC. Started with an American in Japan, wanted to do something to substitute for Thanksgiving dinner with friends, and they all decided to repeat it again later Christmas, which then spread. They became a tradition. Was it Valentine's Day that it's pizza, or is it New Year's Day it's pizza? I know there's some traditional dish that is pizza for pizza and like burgers, which is for Japan. I can't remember what it is though. I want to say it's Christmas. It might have been Valentine's. Yeah, but their market share isn't 900-pound gorilla anymore. They can't ignore UB, AKB, or Microsoft. You forget how much larger EA was than anyone else at the time. Johnny Rico brought an end to that, being forced to have the board accept his resignation for stagnating profit positions under his tenure. What are we talking about? The people are often crazy for pizza in general. Maybe it's something they've been trying to do. I don't really have time or money for the minis yet, but I want to prepare my soul. Well, I would suggest, if you want to do minis, if you're interested in doing minis, do not do what most people do, which is just buy more minis than they can ever take on. Find a cool looking mini that you enjoy and just paint it. Or alternatively, find a book that you enjoy. The books are much cheaper. You can get them, audiobooks you can get on Amazon, or on, not Amazon, on Audible. If you have an Audible account, you can get them for like with credits, but you can purchase them for less than $20. And like, if you're not using it on Audible, if you want to read it, you can buy them like digitally online. They're almost always available. And they're cheap. They're not that difficult. Like, they're not that expensive compared to the models. And so you can read the books, and a lot of the books have models for the characters in the books. So you can always buy those models if you like them and just paint them up and be like, hey, cool, this is my model for, Caiaphas Cain. Or Caiaphas Cain doesn't have a model, but Eisenhorn has a model. And, Mika from the Cadian trilogy has a model. So there's a lot of them like that, yeah. Adric is a good one too. If you want to listen to Adeptus Ridiculous, they're a fantastic podcast for getting into it as well. But if you really want to experience the lore, the books are a pretty good start. No pew-pews.
But you can
never, ever
take away my space game.
Logan Plays just resubscribed for 46 months. Hi, Choom.
Hey, what's it going there, my brother? Just getting out of the combat zone? Fighting those corpo goons, or you dealing with some gangers? What's going on? Some punks. How's it going? How was Phantom Liberty there, brother? Thank you so much for that 46 months. Just finished the heist. Looking forward to Phantom Liberty Tuesday. Nice. I never had a burger or pizza as tradition of any kind in Japan. I don't remember. I've seen it pop up a couple of places and heard it mentioned that pizza is a tradition, or it's like a fad or a tradition for some holiday. How's it been keeping? How's 320 for you? I haven't even played it. I have been, my face has been in work for pretty much all month. And it's either been Starfield stuff, lore stuff, or work. That's pretty much been my life. I'll be getting into 320 on Sunday with the lore team. So we're going to be doing some, the lore crew, the League of Relic Enthusiasts. But it's pretty cool. I'm sure it'll be fine. For 320, just be careful and don't dock with an extended full C because it gets stuck and you can't undock. That sounds about right. Yes, my hair is always going to get more gray. I'm only 36. Oh, there's a Domino's basically gourmet food there. I've heard that there's a lot of you take and bake stuff like there, culture. Where you buy it at a Combini and you take it home and you bake them. Then again, Combini food is fucking amazing. Apparently, it's just like fuck your face kind of good. The idea of having good food from a 7-Eleven sounds blasphemy, but apparently it isn't. Gaunt's Ghosts have a model. They do. They have an entire model kit you can do as well. Gaunt's Ghost is another one too. But yeah, to answer your question is, if you want to spend nothing, Adeptus Ridiculous is a fantastic podcast to learn about 40K. And if you want to learn a little bit more about the universe from like the novel perspective, first off, Adeptus Ridiculous does the book club where they like have you read various novels with them, and you can kind of like, catch up on some of those as well. And then also, I would definitely suggest Xenos, which is the best entry point, I think, for the lore, for like the universe, and or for the Emperor, for like for which is the best, which is another good one. So. No, like I was supposed to before they cut the loot down. Yeah. But what about if you have to dock with the whole sea to sell the loot? No, you don't sell the loot with by docking at the whole sea. Don't you have to go to a specific location to sell it? All right, I'll be right back, chat. When I come back, we'll do the read-throughs. So. Hold on, everyone. I apologize for not turning it back on. Just using the restroom real quickly is what I was doing. All right. Woo. How's ACN Live? Some of the new game modes look exciting, even if I'd be terrible at them. I heard they're pretty good. I'm definitely going to try doing a chat-based, like a multiplayer Pirate Swarm. Because that looks fun. All right, so we've been doing for 2 hours. Now is the time. We've talked about tractor beams, and now we're going to do the Squadron 42 stuff. Hey, these are the Voyages. The best stream ever is when, yes, of course. The chat is the chair is the best stream ever. No Merchantman in 320. There was never going to be Merchantman in 320. I haven't played Master Mode, so I don't know. Oh, no Master Modes in AC. Oh, Master Modes. Yeah, it's going to be an experimental mode, but it's not in there yet. It's going to rotate. So, chat, get ready for this, chat. Capsules. This is going to be a capsule. So, for those of you who've never been through the capsules, how this is going to work is I'm going to be talking at the camera. I'll be reading through this thing. I'm recording this for release on YouTube separately because people have asked me to do just pull out the sections where I talk about the monthly reports, simply because no one has time to watch 3 hours of a video or of a live stream that I'm not going to ever put timestamps on because my train of thought is worse than a stream of consciousness. What is his name? I'm blanking on his goddamn name. James Joyce. my live streams are like a James Joyce novel with less sense. So need capsule emotes. Need this. I was just gonna do a capsule, like a little capsule. So yeah, we're going to get into that one. But so if you see people asking questions or you want to ask questions, wait until the end. If you see someone come in and ask questions about something I'm talking about, tell them, hey, this is a pre-recorded. He's not going to respond to your question. Wait until after he's done and then ask those questions. So Allen Ginsberg did Stream of Consciousness books. That sounds weird. Like that. Yeah. G-Sharp. What modules are you most keen on to begin with? STL Youngblood implied that we will have mobile drug labs manufacturing products from them. Yeah, probably from the Endeavor at least, for sure. STL Youngblood's not that hard, so we talk to ourselves with Paul's busy, basically. All right, I'm gonna start the recording. Hello and welcome to another Office Hours. Capsule. That's right, a little capsule, a little section of our Office Hours live stream, which you can catch live on twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPubLive on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, usually on Thursdays, but this one's being done on a Friday because I was dead tired on Thursday, but generally speaking on Thursdays. So make sure you catch us live. Make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. And of course, jump on Twitch and follow us there. We'd love to see you there. The follows, the subscriptions, the likes, the little icon, little bell icons, do all those sorts of things. It helps a lot if you enjoy these sorts of content because it does mean a lot and tells the YouTube robots that other people like you should enjoy this. So this is live as always, and so you'll see chat over here going up. You'll see them being dirty little liars and tell you this is pre-recorded, which I guess technically by the time you're watching it is, but not when I'm recording it. It's in front of a live chat, which are Assholes.
Them biddies.
With like stuff like that. Which I need to turn off. Thank you, chat. Anyways, this is the Squadron 42 monthly report for the month of August. So this is not going to be a summary. This is going to be a full read through, as you can tell down below. I've been doing this for years now. And as always, there's nothing wrong with summaries, but the idea being, if you're reading things from beginning to end, it's always the best to give you the best context for stuff. I know not everyone has the time to. Sometimes you have time just to put me on while you're working or something like that and just catch up the information. I'm your audiobook for the for the updates, which is fine. But note that I will also be giving in some context for other things that have been mentioned in previous monthly reports. And some of this stuff is literally copy-pasted from the Star Citizen monthly reports because they share the same engine and a lot of the stuff is very similar. With that all being said, let's get into the August 2023 Squadron 42 monthly report. All right. Nope. Oh, too much. All right. AI features. Last month, AI reviewed perception to fix issues where NPCs couldn't correctly recognize that a target had died or that it had seen a situation before. AI is just shooting into dead bodies. These issues led to various bugs, including AI constantly calling for med pens or remaining in combat after it had finished. They also revisited cover usage, polishing various functionality and animations to ensure that feature works across the range of situations and environments. Changes and fixes were also made to the tactical point system, which is used to drive where the AI moves. So this is a point system, like little tokens, little icons that they get for various locations. And I think that actually might be different. That might be different from this. This may be movement. This will identify what needs to be adjusted when reviewing combat in new locations. Balancing was done for AI ammunition usage while maintaining reload and ammo finding functionality to provide realistic and emergent behaviors in the gameplay solutions. So this is something that people have discovered in the current build of 320, which is that AI will actually loot dead bodies for guns and gear. So of their comrades, which is something that they've been mentioning in AI reports for a long time. So it seems like some of this AI system is starting to be added into Star Citizen from Squadron 42, because that's a feature that's been in Squadron 42 for a bit, and they've been testing it out and refining it over time. But this is pretty much word for word what was in the Star Citizen monthly report too. The team continued to review, revisit, and polish combat, including low and high cover reload animations for different weapons, and female animations converted from male assets. They also began developing animations for Marine Squad hand signals to sell group movement and combat. Very cool. AI tech. Last month, AI tech added an undo and redo functionality to the Apollo subsumption tool. They also began improving subsumption data, validation for better presentation, and more explicit validation errors. This will allow for the designers to iterate faster when creating and adjusting missions and behaviors. On the Boyd's feature, mentioned in last month's report, AI tech continued implementing base functionality to allow agents, rats, birds, etc., to adopt different states, such as wandering, idling, or fleeing, and transition between them. They're currently looking for a low-cost solution to keep agents on terrain while moving. This is again straight from Star Citizen. For NPC audio perception, the team implemented new functionality for how audio stimuli is propagated. This involves using the room system and how rooms are connected to determine whether an audio event should be heard. They also continued to improve navigation links. Firstly, how links connect navigation triangles from different zones, which isn't working as intended. Secondly, they fixed how animations play when they begin and finish in different zones. For examples, when NPCs jump onto the ground from a hovering ship. Finally, investigation began into performance issues relating to the navigation system and Pathfinder. A lot of this stuff is them improving on stuff they've worked in previous months, effectively. Boy, all that stuff is previous month kind of improvements. AI vehicles. Vehicle AI's primary priority in August was working through issues preventing the new AI features from working correctly. They fixed faults with the recent aiming system refactor to ensure NPCs shoot correctly, and worked on level designers to fix various miscellaneous problems causing the AI to not work in certain places. Following this, the team will focus on a game-wide flight AI improvements as they continue to fine-tune the gameplay experience throughout the flight sections. So I think a lot of this is Squadron 42 specific. To understand, the AI vehicle team has been working on some of this stuff for a while. A lot of this is just polish and kind of corrections of small issues they've been having in missions. The flight team, the AI flight system, was completely overhauled in July, I want to say, or no, June. But they just took the current AI system and adapted it to flight combat. So there's going to be different behaviors depending on the type of pilot that is flying the ship and the type of people who are operating the guns. It uses the same system that's used for the ground NPCs, which we have actually seen in the last year's CitizenCon presentation with the Squad 42 stuff. They showed that off a little bit. Animation. I'm going to say this right now because I know I'm going to put this on the thumbnail. This is where they start talking about post-alpha. Somebody in the animation team got really, really chewed out for saying the word beta in the last monthly report, because CIG usually dances around that word by saying polish or worked on or got up to, and never really said beta until animation said, we're just working on beta stuff now. And that caused a lot of people to be like, but beta? What are you talking about? Beta. And they stopped calling it that in this report. So, animation. The animators collaborated with the level and AI designers to close out animations across various locations, including the med bay, bridge, mess hall, and hangar. Close out. Yeah, that's another word they use. They're currently improving the overall feel of the player interactions through slides, basic movement, weapon usage, and more. This involves adjusting weapon malfunctions, first-person interactions with the environment, such as opening a hatch, first selects for new weapons, and a selection of other animations. Additionally, progress was made on combat AI for both the enemies and civilians, and animation worked with narrative and design to get level-specific scenes implemented correctly. The motion capture team worked alongside the writers to add the finishing narrative touches to certain areas and supported spot movements to AI behaviors. On the facial side, the team completed a large number of behavioral lines and performances to bring the flight combat, ground combat, and background ambience to life. They also progressed with polished tasks for cast of characters. I was told that they said post-alpha here, but I do not see a post-alpha mention in the animation team. That's odd. I was lied to by my chat. How dare you, chat, lie to me about this? But a lot of this stuff is stuff that they've talked about before. Closing out, going through a lot of the stuff, opening, closing, adding the finishing narrative touches. There's a lot of allusions to them getting towards beta, which is a lot of stuff they've mentioned in the past. There's a lot of, as you'll see throughout this, there's a lot of mentions of things which sound like they're getting finished with the first version of Squadron 42. This isn't the version we're going to play, but this is obviously the first version that's going to be completed, sort of, without placeholder stuff. So, audio. Throughout August, the team worked towards major audio milestone. The aim of this is to provide sound effects for all the work done by the upstream strike teams and identify any required post-alpha changes. There it is. Post-alpha? That's just beta, audio team. That's what we call beta. or improvements. The tech team made significant progress on the Walla crowd audio system, which is close to the first pass complete. This system groups NPCs into clusters based on their proximity, allowing for dynamic localized audio that simulates ambient chatter. Resonance Tech progressed too, which was detailed in a recent episode of Inside Star Citizen. They talked about that, yeah. They also continued to ensure that the game builds remain stable during development so that the devs could work seamlessly. Audio then began tagging cinematic animations with new Foley sound effects. This is an integral push towards implementing audible layers to cinematics, with bespoke animations such as punches or fist bumps receiving their initial audio pass. So we do have confirmation that there will be punches and fist bumps in cinematics of Squadron 42. The team continued to design and implement effects for a variety of Squadron 42 specific weapons, including the Volt manufacturer, ensuring the sounds align with its bold, high-tech designs. Volt is a Squadron 42 only weapon? That's the first information that we've been told, that the Volt weapons are not going to be available in Star Citizen. Interesting. We're excited for the community to get their hands on these weapons and feel the brawny impact of the Galson shotgun blast to our Volt sniper, or our Volt sniper audio team. That seems like we're not going to get it until Squad 42 comes out, which is not anytime soon. There's also a significant push to create and improve sound effects for various puzzles found throughout the campaign. Every puzzle being in some way unique, opened the doors to providing distinctive and innovative sounds. In-game gadgets, including the flashbang, also received fine-tuning and new improvements. Hey, we're getting a flashbang. I think it's the first mention of that in a while, too. Finally, for audio, they made a significant post-alpha beta audio team. Post-alpha is just beta. You can say the word. Animation did it for you last week or last month. They already took the fall. You can say beta now. We understand this. They made significant post-alpha improvements to the game environments, building on what was already in place and providing localizations with more subtle ambience. Features gameplay. August saw the word begin with the vehicle's radar's landing UI. To begin with, the team investigated rendering the environment outside of a ship in the vehicle's radar display, similar to the minimap, so players can see the area they intend to land on. The geometry will be marked up, so it will only display the relevant landing area. That's a system that we've had in Squadron 42 or in Star Citizen in the past. I'm sorry, Squadron 42, probably in Squadron 42. But it was very specific to the areas in Arena Commander, which allowed you to see where you were landing through a mini animation on your HUD. And it looks like they're using the minimap tech, the tech that they used for the in-game ship minimaps and the FPS minimaps that they've been using for Squadron, which will eventually come to Star Citizen, for that technology. So it's one of those things where they built a tool that works like this, and now they're seeing what the tool can also use, which is a lot. For camera transitions from first-person view to cinematic sequences, the team added the ability to create small track view sequences for the initial cutaway with smooth transitions to the cinematic cameras. For example, if the player is in a cockpit seat, the team can create a camera transition out through the widescreen for better visual flow, through the windscreen for visual flow. Oh, maybe we'll get like the cinematic bars as well. That'd be cool. Elsewhere, gameplay features continued extending the crane controller functionality based on the new use case. They also made improvements to hints and tutorials, Mobiglass notification forwarding to the visor, and Mobiglass linking. Crane controller? So we're getting crane controls, like loading and unloading cranes, which isn't odd. I have been for a while believing that we're going to get straight up rope puzzles in Star Citizen, in Squadron 42, I should say. And this is just more evidence of that. So those of you who have been angry at Beam Citizen, because embrace the beams, by the way. We're definitely not just going to have beams. They're already putting that tech in Squadron 42, so. Features vehicle. Last month, vehicle features worked towards closing out self-status UI, filling out missing features in the various subscreens, including information on quantum travel and fuel. They received support from the UI art team on this to improve the visuals and ship rendering. Relating to this, the turret variation of the self-status NMFD can now render a 3D model of the turret, which will also be improved by UI artists in the near future. The vehicle loadout terminal is approaching feature complete, with the addition of special features for group equipping items. For example, changing a single ship thruster will change others if required, or equipping specific missile will automatically swap to the correct missile rack. Additionally, the UI art team is creating a 3D augmented reality display for the vehicle loadout terminal. This will be located at the Idris hangar where players can customize their ships. So that is obviously for Squadron specific, but I can't imagine it won't be also added to Star Citizen in the future, because that sort of tech is something we need. Moving everything they can away from the mobiGlass towards specific kiosks is something that CIG's been wanting to do for a while. Or removing anything from the mobiGlass to the MFDs is another thing they want to do. They want to make the mobiGlass strictly your social media tool, not a actual UI for like a lot of stuff. So. Vehicle features began looking into changes to vehicle aiming, exploring a feature similar to ADS. This will allow players to zoom in on their target and receive additional aiming assistance to target subcomponents or line up a better shot. This is still being explored. So I did see a lot of pings from people being like, Squadron 42 is already being taken ideas from, it's already being influenced by Starfield, because Starfield is a very similar kind of slow down time, zoom in and target a target. I don't think you're going to see that in Squadron. I think this is more of them trying to experiment with the ideas of targeting components, which is something that's in Star Citizen for a while now. I don't know if it's still in there or not. I haven't used it in a while. But to more of a kind of so you can see what you're actually shooting at and where that component is. And this is obviously a feature that they're looking into, which may not actually function, just them seeing if they want to do that. Also, to remind you, this was published in August. Starfield didn't come out until September, so this was before Starfield was released. So it's hard to put that in there. Progress was also made on the resource network, with the team providing support for various vehicle items that use fuel and power, such as quantum drives and thrusters. Very good. So the progress was also made on the resource network. That's pretty good. That's the one thing that we've been waiting for that's going to change everything. Thrusters using power is one of the more complicated aspects of this. We're still working through it. Vehicle features team. Lastly, vehicle features supported level design on their gameplay sequence, providing bug fixing and technical support for the smaller features to aid with building out levels and experiences. Most of the gameplay story's focus throughout August was on supporting the strike team with improvements and additions around the Idris. This involved refactoring and supporting the recently created deck crew track views and adding additional idle animations and improved prop interactions to the mess hall scenes. That fucking mess hall scenes, they're still working on that goddamn thing. They also spent a few days working on new turret content to add additional life to these areas. And by saying that, it's mostly a meme. The people who legitimately get angry because they're still working on mess hall stuff, like they'll be working on mess hall stuff until the day before it releases, and probably in post-release, because they just love their mess hall. My guess is that the mess hall is going to be a huge function in terms of the social aspect of Squadron 42. Because a lot of people don't realize that Squadron 42 is broken up into three major components: FPS, ship combat, FPS, ship missions, and social aspects. And a lot of your time is going to be spent on the Stanton, the Idris. So you're going to have a lot of social stuff. If you haven't played Wing Commander, it's Wing Commander. It just more exploration on there than you usually can. They also spent a few days working on new turret content to add additional life to those areas. New mocap set data was used to incorporate several dialogue changes to key character scenes requested by design. They also created several resolve and out of animations to help characters exit their scenes and return to AI control. Towards the end of the month, the team switched focus to preparing for upcoming narrative shoots. We have about 20 new gameplay story scenes being recorded, and we're keen to ensure that the resulting data can be implemented as smoothly as possible. Gameplay story team. We do know that John Rice Davies came in for some pickup shots, so we may be seeing other people like Mark Hamill or even Gillian Anderson. Why am I blanking on his name? Henry Cavill and other actors coming into to make some other kind of changes as well. But we don't know exactly. We just know that they're doing pickup shots now. Graphics and VFX programming. In August, improvements were made to the internal implementation of temporal super resolution. Further progress was made on water, with the shader gaining improved lighting and foam. Working on the simulation continued too, with foam propagation and bullet impact support being added. The new prototype of the glint shading model was completed and comes in 3 different versions with different performance characteristics. The team are now investigating whether they can take one of these into production. Distant lights are now drawn as bright glows that pass through the existing post-effects system, with the aim of replacing the more traditional composite flare system that can't support post-effects. On the tooling side, the streaming debugger was expanded and now provides a powerful tool to track the detailed history of any asset or group to diagnose issues that facilitate optimizations. Mesh Setup Editor was also expanded to allow finer-grained control of how animated meshes are imported. The Vulkan subteam added new extensions, including Synchronization 2, Maintenance 4, and the Timeline Semaphore, to improve various aspects of the backend. Focus is now shifting to unblocking progress on global illumination, as the ray tracing component is Vulkan only. The VFX programming team implemented smoke spawning on fire alongside with other quality improvements to bring the feature to a visually complete and rather impressive state. Finally, further improvements to lighting effects were made, which will be used to future with gas clouds. So I think that's new for Squadron, the Vulkan effects, Vulkan stuff. So they're actually going to be getting ray tracing. So ray tracing is going to be part of Star Citizen. Now, we've always known that, but like for Squadron 42 at least, we've always known that it's going to be part of it at some point, but it looks like they're now like digging into it. So level design. Last month, level design continued to focus on the Idris interstitials. Outside of the scene maintenance and updates, the social narrative team worked closely with the AI content. That's what I'm talking about with social. It's one of the major parts of level design. With AI content pushing hard on crew behaviors. This included supporting the implementation of background vignettes in the Idris hangar for use after a player lands. These include the deck crew pushing ladders up to the Gladius and climbing on top to carry out maintenance, refueling the ship, and carrying out cockpit and weapon checks. The same was done for the pre-flight vignettes, with the deck crew prepping for player ship for takeoff with thruster and weapons checks. The team also started to work on having the previously static Idris moving during interstitials, which creates which is subtle but makes a difference. So what they're doing now is going through and like really ensuring that the atmosphere of the ship is busy and people are doing stuff, and you can see them doing these little vignettes, these little practice things when you get out of your ship and all that sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. Now, again, taking any indication of completion based off of that is a fool's errand. No one can tell you if that means it's getting close or not. Anyone who tells you that something like that means it's closer to being finished is lying to you or has no goddamn idea what they're talking about. There are other aspects, like them just straight up saying beta last month or saying post-alpha, but a game is not a single entity. There are multiple entities that are involved in a game making. That's why all these departments exist. Some departments can be further ahead than other departments in terms of completion. So just keep that in mind when I'm talking about some of this stuff. The only people who know how far Squadron 42 is in completion are the people who work on Squadron 42. And this is the most they're telling us. So, narrative. The narrative team was heavily involved in the recent performance capture shoots. This included interfacing with level designers to solidify the flow of levels and scripts, as well as working with core gameplay and audio teams to detail wildline scripts for characters. These included some new characters that had been introduced in the latest levels, as well as pickups for a handful of returning actors that had been previously captured. Part of these lines included buddy AI designs for both FPS and flight sections that had been implemented since the last time they'd been captured. The subtle validation work, the subtitle validation work that had begun last month was completed, with the teams reviewing and updating several thousand lines of dialogue to ensure the subtitles accurately reflected what was performance said. The team continued to delve into some of the collectibles that players will be able to find scattered throughout the levels. They also progressed with defining the categories and content that will go into the Squadron 42 Galactopedia. Now, the Galactopedia stuff that's in Squadron 42 will likely be ported over to Star Citizen, but it'll first be implemented in Squadron 42, because that is probably a much smaller a much more limited amount of information that you're going to encounter in Squadron 42 versus Star Citizen. So, all right, we're almost done. R&D. In August, work on the temporal renderer mode for atmosphere and volumetric clouds continued. Various methods to rectify the or reject frame history were experimented with. Furthermore, a new disocclusion detection system to reject history was implemented that, in spirit, is similar to the general upsampling solution. Additionally, various code was updated to work with the recent Dren 12 improvements. VFX. VFX continued to work discussed in July's report. In particular, fire propagation visuals were further improved, with fog volumes being used to show smoke accumulating at ceiling height, alongside further visual breakup of fire particle effects. That's pretty good. It's kind of smaller, and I almost certainly next month, September's monthly report for both Star Citizen and Squadron 42 are going to be as small, because there's a lot of stuff that they're saving for CitizenCon, and while it's not confirmed, and there is no absolute, like, they'll never tell us until we get there, I'm almost certain that we will be getting a Squadron 42 monthly, or Squadron 42 update at CitizenCon in some way, based off of a lot of the stuff that's on this report and a lot of the stuff that they've been talking about and kind of hinting at in the past. So, to summarize, a lot of the AI stuff we've been seeing in the past. Vehicle got the thing where you can, like, fine-tune, like they can... aiming systems kind of working a little bit better. Animations working on a lot of closeout stuff, a lot of wrap-up stuff. They stuff for combat AI, for enemies and civilians. Level-specific scenes implemented correctly. A lot of motion capture stuff was done for pickup art. So pickup shots. There's a lot of new features, new AI that have been added, new buddy AI, new characters that have been added to some of the parts, some levels. As always, important to remember that Squadron 42 has got main stories and side stories, so they could have added some new parts to the side stories or new small sections of the main storyline, which added individual characters. So there's a lot of stuff that's going on. Audio just straight up talks about post-alpha stuff, which is just beta, my guys, it's just beta. But things like crowd audio, new Foley stuff, new weapons sound. We see rate landing UIs being added to the environment. We also see subcomponent targeting, resource network stuff done, mentions of thruster being able to be replaced, which is probably just an example, but that is something they wanted to do in the past, was be able to swap out the thrusters and the maneuvering thrusters and stuff like that. So, as well as the new loadout system that they've been creating. A lot of talks about in and out of animations for story stuff. Graphics talks about stuff for ray tracing. The level design talked about a lot of social content, a lot of stuff on the Idris, a lot of kind of vignettes being worked on, as well as subtitles being finished up, and then a lot of stuff on fire and fire propagation in general. So it's pretty good. The continue of my tinfoil hat theory that Squadron 42 is a lot further along than people realize continues. For those of you who've been following this, I've been doing this for months and been saying, this sounds very odd, CIG. You're giving me the tingling feeling that I don't want to feel about that maybe you're actually going to do something and not just sit there and work on an alpha forever. So who knows? I do want to know your thoughts. Am I just huffing hopium and copium? Am I just mainlining it into my veins at this point? Or do you see something similar? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, remember to watch us live on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub on Thursdays. Love to see you here. And like I always say, hope to see you someday in the black. All right, I had to mute myself there for a moment while this is going. I'm not leaving. I was just signing out. So if you have questions, let me know. I got one comment that was an insider who said about a third of what's done. I think they're getting all their ducks in a row, bringing it all together. That's why they won't say anything besides it's a serious push to beta. And then see all the polished UI and mechanics that port to the PU, which brings it all together. Yeah. I'm one of those people who listen to your monthly report, reads as an audiobook. Even if I've heard it elsewhere, I listen to it to get your takes on the info. It's one of the things that I enjoy most. Just wanted another voice reinforcing you appreciate it. Thank you, Akumi. Wait, so the X1 isn't coming to the 400i, with the 400i, but the G12 comes with the 600i? No, I don't think the G12 comes with the 600i. I think you have to buy it separately. If you purchase it, it comes with it, but... Oh, it comes with the Imperator Edition, which is the one you get for the, like, having too much money in the game. Hi. Question, why do the FX take so long to implement when the most part of the time our ships will always... Why the FX take so long to be implemented when the most of the part of the time our ships are always in fire? Because fire is different from what you realize. Fire propagation is about damaging and how fire spreads realistically through a ship. I think the reason why they're focusing on fire mostly has to do with Squadron 42, but will also have impacts on Star Citizen content as well as like on planets and ships and so on and so forth, and in buildings. They want to have fire spread and do damage and destroy things because they're insane. And that's the kind of simulation they want to see in the game. Fire doesn't just destroy things, it also eats oxygen. And oxygen is important for you to breathe. And having fire in space is bad because you need oxygen to survive. So it's more than just a factor of having it look cool, but also have it affect the universe. So... For example, the UEE Exploration Pack provides the following ships. The 600i Explorer comes with the G12, currently a Cyclone, so it already has a Cyclone. I don't remember the Explorer coming with a G12 though. Maybe it was an after the fact release. The Executive Edition makes sense. So the Executive Edition is like the free one you get for being stupidly over stuff. And it also makes sense that the non-Explorer version doesn't have it because I don't think it has a cargo bay. The non-Explorer version. Paul, do you think the changes to the inventory system will bring meaningfully enjoyable change to the game that will improve the gameplay for the majority of players? That's a lot of gameplay games mentions. Yeah, I think it'll improve the gameplay. I don't think it's going to improve the gameplay that people want. It's not going to make the game simpler, but it will definitely make the game streamlined a little bit more. Do I think it'll make the game more fun? Fun is subjective, and as I've always said, I think a lot of people who are looking for fun are aren't actually looking for fun. Hey, Deepa, thanks for that VIP, by the way. I think what you're actually looking for is accessibility, and I don't think CIG is going to do a lot of accessibility stuff. That's intentional. They never wanted to. When Chris Roberts says he was inspired by Dark Souls, remember how many people hate Dark Souls because they can't play it because they feel like it's unaccessible to them. And how FromSoft says, we don't give a shit constantly. That's CIG. CIG doesn't care. They're going to make the game that they want to make, and they're going to make it in a way that is going to have some challenge to it. And as much as it sounds weird to compare cargo management and inventory management to Dark Souls, it's not that unusual. Arma, DayZ, other games, the Tarkov, they all have similar inventory systems that CIG is obviously not going to shy away from. So, Streamlined, talk me through that. So instead of having to have a giant fuck you art system that just like throws a bunch of shit on your screen, your stuff is going to be in boxes in specific locations, either in your hab, in a box at the start of the like at the very beginning of a landing zone, or in your inventory inventory on stations, or inventory in ships. And you can access your inventory in ships at specific inventory locations. And most of the time, if you have a bunch of like weapons that you want to store, it'll be in a box, an inventory box that you can put a bunch of stuff in, which is just a normal cargo box that just can hold stuff as well, rather than just holding commodities. So it's streamlined in the sense that you have one location, a cargo terminal, where you can access a bunch of that stuff and bring it to your hangar. And it isn't just like this giant, you can access it any time. You just have to go to very specific locations. It shouldn't be. It should only be about 30 seconds. Or to cause unnecessary friction for the sake of aesthetics. Inferno Droid, it was always going to be a situation where CIG was going to make it more complicated. But at the same time, they were going to make it easier and less buggy, which is the point. They're going to try to make it less buggy, make it easier to access, and they'll adjust it as need be. So would you say Star Citizen is the Dark Souls of cargo management? No, but I will, because it will trigger people. So instead of a magic box, we have a less magic box that's going to be a pain. That's going to be a pain in the ass. Not really. It means that instead of having to figure out where you left that gun, you can put, or instead of having to like, say you're raiding underground facility, right? You're gathering all this loot and stuff like that. Instead of having to like figure out how to gather all this loot, you just bring down a giant fucking box, you put everything in the box, and then carry the box up. So it's going to be a lot less of a, I have to figure out how to collect all of this loot and go somewhere. You just have a box you can use, which will have larger amounts than we currently have. But it'll also only be available in certain locations. Like you'll only be able to access your inventory of your ship in specific locations, rather than everywhere. In my opinion, it doesn't improve anything from my understanding. It's not going to make it easier for you. It's going to make it simpler in some ways and more complicated in others. It's never going to be, if you're sitting here going, I don't want to manage my inventory, you probably don't want to play Star Citizen, my dude. That's always been, like I said, this has always been a thing that Star Citizen was going to implement. It's going to slow down cargo trading, because it's going to force you to take inventory, load and unload cargo. It's going to slow down mining refining, because it's do the same thing. There's always going to be that step that was going to be in place. That was always going to be the case. I love resource and cargo management in games. I'm an organization nerd, though. People will like it. There is definitely a place for it. People play logistics gameplay in Arma. Like Arma is a good example of this. If you look at Arma and see how that's going, that's a good direction that CIG wants to go. Is it a pain in the ass? Yes, but it's part of the gameplay. And with Star Citizen specifically, if you're a cargo hauler, that's always going to be part of the gameplay. Loading and unloading will be part of the process. But right now it's one SCU at a time. So instead of it being one or two SCU at a time, it's you have three SCU, like you have 3 16 SCU boxes and you're done. So it's not going to be, I have to load in 16 SCU by hand. It's, I have one box and I'm done. And that's going to be the differences that you're going to see. Arma has like 20K active players. Arma is also not an MMO. Weight distribution part of the loading and minigame. I don't know if that'll be that much in depth. They might put it in there. I do think they're going to have different cargo sizes for cargo missions. So you may be able to chain a couple missions together, but they'll have, some will be in 1 SU boxes, some will be in 32 SU boxes. So like loading it in and the way you load it in terms of what goes out first and what goes in first, that will definitely be part of the game, which may cause some time delays, but Not that much. I think we have different opinions of inventory management. I mean, yeah, obviously. My issue is the whole cargo elevator system to swap between things. What do you mean by that is an issue? I'm curious as to hear how the cargo elevator system is off for you. I think the only thing that changes is that instead of you just accessing your inventory and being able to pull it out of your inventory, you just go to a kiosk, and then it shows up on the the freight elevator, the freight panel. Like the door will open and it's there. So it's more physicalized rather than just in an inventory screen, in a UI screen. You won't be able to access all of your inventory and save Bajini Point from outside the station. Exactly. You'll have to actually go to the location where it's stored and access it. But I mean, that it's also required for things like smuggling. Like, if you want to smuggle into locations, you're going to have to physically carry that item to the location and sell it or bring it to the buyer. And that is going to require you to have a physical item that you keep on you that's likely more than just something you put into your coat. And so you're going to have a way to have it physicalized and carryable to a location. Have a good night, Annaburger. It's a pointless step. I don't think it's a pointless step. I think it's an important step for things like immersion. It's also an important step for things like loading and unloading of the ship. It's going to slow you down in the process. And as I've said from the beginning of me streaming and looking into Star Citizen, is that Star Citizen is not designed the way you think it is. It's not designed to maximize clicks and dopamine. It's designed to have you have slowdowns. There was something that was mentioned, I think it was in the GDC by Chris, but there was a mention in some of the designs that they're taking the inspiration from a GDC talk that was done by a Ultima Online dev who did a research, who did a proposal. He said that people remember and are more active in the down times than they are in the active times. People remember more stuff about MMOs when they're working with other people, not to accomplish a goal, but usually in the times between raids. So like when you're waiting for a raid to happen or you're organizing people together, people have more fond memories in those downtimes. And so CIG was building on the idea that these downtimes are going to be where people are going to thrive and really explore the universe. That's the concept. So like having a loading and unloading timer for cargo is part of the, you can load it in yourself, or you can pay somebody else to do it, and then you can go off to have a dinner at the station, or talk with somebody, or go do another mission, or whatever. Like it's a time to slow you down in terms of that loop, but also encourage you to do other things and explore the game more. Those moments were spontaneously related, not forced. That I would disagree. They were forced because they were designed to slow you down so you wouldn't constantly be pumping out quests or constantly pumping out raids. It just, they weren't designed around the idea of player interaction. They were designed on slowing you down so you wouldn't overload the economy. And CIG is just kind of working their way into that, though. I'm fine with having storage at locations, but just not on the cargo lift. Everything could be done without the lift. You can go to your hangar, and from there you can access your inventory and can. That's already what you do. Like, the lift is just the transition from storing inventory or storing commodities and retrieving it. You can still go to those locations and pick up inventory, but you don't have to put it in the long-term storage of a cargo deck, which is basically what you would be doing. Instead, it's an option for you to do it if you want to, but you can also access it from other locations. No, in other MMOs, the game devs didn't say, okay, let's make sure players can't play. They were there because the players were bored. Things are just things chatting around, didn't want to do something. Caffeinated, there's still stuff to do when you're loading and offloading stuff. There are other activities. It's just Star Citizen isn't in that location or isn't in that place for those areas to be there. Like bars to go talk to a bartender, an AI bartender who might give you a mission or might give you information if you talk with them, interacting with other players at an event, going to a restaurant because you can get meals there, which will increase your stats a little bit better or reduce the hunger and thirst, prevent the reduction of the hunger and thirst bar as fast, or going to buy armor or getting stuff repaired. There's a lot of other things that will be added into the gameplay loop than just you sitting there watching a timer tick by. The whole lifting is a process of waste of dev time. How is it though? You're just saying just magically pull that shit out of the ether and then just put it into the ship? You don't want physical loading of commodities, is what you're saying? Inferno Droid? Just to be some digital tokens? 'Cause I'm trying to figure out what the opinion is, because what it sounds like is you want it to be a digital void that you can just like pull out of your inventory and then just like use it and then put it away. That there should be no step where you go to a door opens and you pull out the cargo. It should just automatically show up in your inventory, and then you just pull it out of that inventory screen and then put it into your ship. Also, Star Citizen wants to be a space sim that constantly pushes towards immersion. That's true. I'm just trying to figure out what you're saying was what you want, Inferno. That's all. So what happens when you have 10K players trying to load and offload goods? We're going to be waiting days. No, because that's what Instance Hangars is for. Instance Hangars allows you to get a hangar, and if there are 10K players at that location, each player has its own instance hangar. And when you access the cargo decks, what you're actually just accessing is a place where all that stuff is going to spawn in the background, and then you can load that stuff up. But Inferno, what you're saying is effectively that you shouldn't have physicalized cargo, which is something that I fundamentally disagree with. You should always have physicalized cargo because it needs to be able to be interactive by pirates or by other locations. And so if you can't have that physicalized cargo for that potential loss or potential transfer, then you're just going to deal with digital tokens walking back and forth. It doesn't add time. It doesn't add the danger of piracy where while you're unloading stuff, you could, get intercepted, or if the cargo itself is dangerous, you could drop it and explode, or you attack a ship and the ship blows up and you lose all the cargo. Like a lot of that stuff requires physicalization of cargo. Or being able to take the cargo off and then just store it in a random place. Oh, so you just want to... It'd be fine if you put it in your ship. You would have to have boxes on the ship for the thing to go into. I just want to skip the entire cargo hold process. But loading it into the cargo hold? Yeah, that was never going to be a thing. That was always going to be a factor in Star Citizen. You were always going to have time to load and unload cargo. It was always going to be part of the plan. Even if it was just a timer. Where's it going to happen where you're loading and unloading cargo? 10K people loading and unloading cargo. Because I don't see that anywhere else it's going to happen. Have you already talked about the size of the hangars? Do you think that the change will dramatically, it will change dramatically when they become instance? I think they will. I think they're going to get bigger. They have to support some of the aspects they want to with cargo loading and unloading. Why does it have to be physical if it's in a physical location? Like you pop in the ship and then go into the locker and grab a digital item. It's only physical when it's used. Because they want to have as much physicalization of the items as possible. Where it's not, they want to try to make it a little bit easier. They're trying to go for like a hybrid system where not everything necessarily is physical, but if you want to have access to it in an easy way, it is going to be physical. Let's be honest, AstroPub, we've been all doing this so long, we're all getting bigger. And we're just getting older in their X. PS made pirating so real and cool in the PU. More focus towards cargo loading makes space trucking more intense as you become more invested in larger runs and the amount of time to manually load. Or just time to load and unload. We can't keep in-ship elevators working. I doubt this will really happen anytime soon. It's not really an elevator, Caffeine. And it isn't happening anytime soon. That's the reason why they're talking about it and not actually implementing it yet. If they're implementing it, we would have seen it. But they're not. It's going to take probably another 6 months before we even get the first prototypes in. Because if they are sticking to the hopeful plan of 4.0 next year, anytime soon, there's no way they're going to focus on this until after 4.0 is out. It's just that they can't do this until 4.0 is out. This whole, the whole system, we'll see parts of it. Like, we might see some of the, like, physicalized inventory location access points rather than being just generic. But, like, the cargo elevator is not actually an elevator. It's a spawn closet, is what it is. It'll spawn in and out things, and then it'll be moved to the quantum system. But we don't even have the quantum system in, so they can't even use the quantum system for it yet. An elevator too, a magic elevator. Not really a magic elevator. It's just like it sort of exists as an elevator. It's just a door. Sort of elevator. Yeah, elevators and stuff are going to be the hangers. I know Chris Roberts made a big fucking stink about how they're not going to use smoke and mirrors. But of course they're going to use smoke and mirrors. I remember there was some sort of talk about, or some sort of rumors about Chris wanting to physicalize the elevators so they ran on actual tracks, and the development team had to sit him down and tell him how long it would take and how much work it would be to physicalize every single elevator. And so he gave in and was like, let's just make them omnivators, because it was just going to take too long. The time to travel from place to place would be too much. So I know a lot of people are like, this breaks my immersion. It's like, yeah, but it's either that or forever loading. So there's always going to be some stuff that Chris is going to have to compromise on to make the game function. And this is one of those things. Also, while a box is a digital item, I don't think it's going through the cargo lift to move it from one box to another is the best direction. You don't have to go to the cargo lift to move it from one box to another. You can just move it from one box to another if you wanted to. Or you can aggregate it and put it into a single box. I think that's what they were talking about. Yeah, shit changes. Star Citizen's going to always change when we adapt to it. And this probably won't even be the final system that we're going to get. It'll probably be something probably even more streamlined to deal with a lot of issues. I grew up on Privateer and Wing Commander, and I get tired of people wanting those quick dopamine hits, which pale in comparison to the high of accomplishing a long multi-system mission that has you on the edge of your chair the whole time. So many games now are just boring. It's a big part of why I'm a diehard Star Citizen fan. I think in general, like, survival games are probably the closest analog to Star Citizen because of what CIG wants to do. And I think that is also going to be their biggest downfall, because I think a lot of people don't realize that this is a secret survival game. It's a secret survival game in a way that people haven't experienced before. Resource management, physical damage, wear and tear, physical cargo, quanta, all systems need to be designed to be sim-like, all systems designed to be sim-like elements, for sure. Your armor will eventually need repairs, or it'll degrade into nothing, disappear. Your systems are the same. Your ship will eventually just be completely destroyed or unusable. Components will have to be completely replaced over time. Even if you build like a outpost, it'll eventually have wear and tear where you have to repair or eventually abandon or completely destroy it because it won't be there forever. So it's an elevator because it's supposed to bring your goods to the cargo center. Yeah, but it's not actually an elevator. It's called an elevator because that's what it's inverse doing. In like the background fiction, some poor sap is loading your cargo onto the elevator from the cargo deck and is sending it to your hangar. But in reality, it's just being spawned. So, hey, Black Intellect, bro. It's a magic door. It's a magic door. Like it's a magic door with magic boxes is what it is. That's a good way of putting it too. These sim-like elements replace the XP grind of traditional MMOs. They slow you down that you normally would take for you to have to go to XP stuff and that kind of thing, yeah. The first box being the hangar inventory, and the second box being the physical box that you move around for clarity. Yeah. Fingers crossed for DNA damage. I don't doubt it. I mean, that's part of what the whole respawn system and the regeneration system is designed around. It's like eventually your character will have the big death, the real death, the super not coming back from thing. So. I really enjoy the RP and sim aspects of the game. I want more of it. I just had to actually be worth it. There'll be some stuff which won't ever feel like it's worth it, and some parts that will. But that's the other thing about Star Citizen being an online MMO, is that they'll change things as they need to, even when the game's released. Curious, with the tech they had developing game-wise, and how NASA had the shout out for their cloud tech, NASA shouted out CIG's cloud tech? Really? I don't remember that. Do you think there are other sections in the industry that would pick up an eyebrow of CIG is making? You'd have to give me that link there, Northern Trooper. I didn't hear that before. The Abraham Lincoln sphere? Isn't it yeah, it's not the Abraham Lincoln sphere, but I know what you're talking about. The Ibrahim sphere. Yeah, the Ibrahim. Ibrahim is an actual name. I think it's Arabic. Cargo elevator just feels like an extra step that could be handled just as easily by letting you access the inventory directly while the hangar in the hangar, putting the item in a box that you already have spawned. No in between step. You don't have that though. You don't have to. You can have a box that you spawn and put it in there. You don't need to do that system. That system is designed for long-term storage and retrieval, or for mission storage and retrieval. There's none of that stuff that exists. It's just there so in case you want to store it long-term, you can put it in there. And you don't even have to do that. You can still carry it to your local inventory and put it in there. It's just an option for you to store large amounts of personal items. That's all it is. Ibrahim is where we get Abraham from. Oh, good to know. I hope we'll be able to make some money with food. I do too. I hope they have a good cooking system in. I feel like there are some aspects of MMOs that are always really fun that people never really take, like really emphasize because they don't realize it's important. Probably the closest one that's everyone knows is fishing. The joke is that every MMO needs to have fishing, but I mean, with Star Citizen, they definitely do. But things like hunting, food, like cooking food, tailoring, a lot of the crafting stuff people don't really know. But like tailoring isn't always like an actual profession that matters in terms of making money. It's usually just RP stuff. Brewing beer or alcohol, those sorts of things. And I think with CIG could probably do a good job of, because a lot of that is resource gathering and then maybe a mini game to cook it, but. Ibrahim is the Muslim version of Abraham. Okay. If the item's in the hangar storage and you want to take it out and put it in a box of ships, don't you have to interact with a cargo elevator? If you put it in the hangar storage, but you don't have to put it in hangar storage. You can put it in the lockbox and the right before security, or in your ship or anywhere else. But it's only if you put it into hangar storage. You have to actually move it into hangar storage before you can pull it out. You do have to access the cargo elevator, but it's the same thing as spawning anything else. It's just an immersive filter is what it is. It's basically pulling it out of inventory, but you just put it in there and there's a timer for it to come out. That's it. It's just a timer. That's all it is. I know what you're saying, but like, even if they would, you just pull it out of your local inventory, they would have still put a timer on it. Because they want to slow down your access to a lot of this stuff. So. Is there a way to allow you to transfer ship or gun components from your cargo grid into a local inventory? No, not right now. I think there are some stuff you can do right now. The idea wouldn't be, you'd never have it in local inventory. You'd have to put it in local inventory in this version that CIG is talking about. You'd have to put it into the hangar, into the cargo hangar or the cargo deck. So putting it into the freight elevator and then hitting store. So you have to unload it, put it in the freight elevator and put it in the store. If you have a gun in a box in your ship, you should still be able to access that box, pull the gun out, and put it into your inventory like you do now. It's just you have to go to you have to do that right now, going into the box, but not like pulling it out of. Or if you want to pull it out of like a cargo box in your ship that has like components, then you can put it in there. But if you want to put it into local inventory like we do now, it would have to go through the freight elevator. But it's just loading it up, putting it in there, hitting store, and you're done. Why do they want to slow everything down? Because they don't want you making billions of credits in minutes. They want the game to take time, and like I said earlier, they want to have you experience more of the universe beyond just cargo hauling, bounty hunting, that sort of thing. It's also an immersive thing. My issues with interacting with hangar inventory, I just think that the cargo elevator, and I don't think the cargo elevator enhances gameplay. I get what you're saying. The fact that you have to go to a separate inventory screen to access something that you then want to use, it can be tedious or sounds tedious. In my opinion, it's more of a kind of like in most MMOs, you have a bank where you can go store your stuff in the bank. That's all it is. It's a bank storage in a local area. So instead of having global bank, you have to go to a local area and then access it through the bank screen, which is usually separate from your own interaction screens. So just don't store anything in the bank you don't want to use right away. People still worried about stuff. The only real way to play will be nothing but a pair of space speedos and a dream. You're not wrong, Aimless. The real Zero to Hero run. I was a bit worried when I heard that they want to place terminals in the hangars of the elevator. Why not just give us stuff in our mobiGlass? They do not want you using your mobiGlass for everything. They want to break up the mobiGlass experience as much as possible. They don't even want you to have like the star map in your mobiGlass anymore, because they want to make everything individual terminals to have different experiences. Even like loading up your ship loadout is going to be its own terminal. You're sold on no monthly fees? There's no monthly fees, though. So basically, Inferno Gerald, I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. But what you're saying is you don't want that extra step and the time. And the answer is they're always going to do that. For now. I don't think they'll ever do monthly fees. I don't think there's profit in monthly fees. Not unless you have a massive install base, and even then, like the subscription model is dead for MMOs and for games in general. The only way you get a subscription model to work is like Xbox Game Pass, where you're getting so much content for it's basically like a Netflix for games, but that's for multiple games, not for a single game. As for bulk things, I think the cargo elevator is fine. If I want to put or retrieve a gun in my hangar, I don't want to interact with the cargo elevator. You won't have to. That's what I mean. Like your hangar might have gun racks, so you can just drop your gun in there, or a box you can just leave in your persistent hangar and just leave it there in your persistent hangar. The cargo elevator is designed specifically for long-term full storage. Like I said, like a bank in an MMO, where you keep a bunch of stuff there that you don't use on a regular basis. So if you have like 700 P4s that you just have gathered over the years, and you toss them in a box, like I'm never gonna fucking use all these things. You throw them in your long-term storage, and then you got somebody who wants to buy them guns. You go, shit, I'll pull those things out. But that's like, it's like stuff you don't care about. It makes you decide what you have to take with you. It also makes you care more about your ship and the stuff you ship with you. Yeah, it's about prioritization. Meaningful gameplay choices. Why require subs when they can sell ships and make way more money per month? That's true. That's also the case. You're good, Inferno. I get what you're saying. I just think that a lot of people are like a lot of times people see something and then they'll over analyze what's being said. And it's always important to keep in mind that CIG will always reserve the right to change their mind. And if something doesn't work, they'll change it. It's what happened. It's happened many times in the past. So nothing that CIG says is set in stone until it is. Paul, yes, I understand the need to slowing down time to make the in-game money. Early days of Elite Dangerous took a long grind to get the in-game chips. I love it more after working hard for it. Yeah, and with Star Citizen, a lot of that stuff is also going to be locked behind reputation gates. So it's not just money, it's reputation. And there's no one-stop shop for everything. You're going to have to go to many different systems to get the best loadout that you possibly can for the types of things you do. And even then, it won't necessarily be a one-size-fits-all that works everywhere. There'll probably be builds which are meta omni builds where you can do pretty much anything, but they're probably not going to be as good as dedicated combat builds or dedicated hauling builds or dedicated mining builds for similar ships. So, however, I see this leading to future rage quitting. I have been talking about this for years now, that I think that there's going to be a filter point where people start realizing that the game that Star Citizen is not the game that they want to play. And as Star Citizen develops and gets closer to being an actual game, the idea of the game people start to realize that like the idea that they have that the game is wrong, that it's not the game they want. I feel like this conversation in post was badly timed. Posting it when the inventory was completely fucked is probably not the best. I mean, when is the inventory not completely fucked? Like, I don't think there's been a single time since the inventory system was introduced that the inventory system functioned as it was supposed to. Also, the more things you can leave in a non-physical state, the better for servers. But it really isn't related to my concern. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of part of it, but yeah. So I was wondering, do you think the Liberator should be able to hold cargo in its landing pads? Yes. Since the whole sea can hold small vehicles in its cargo grid, we don't know that for sure, but it's implied, yeah. It kind of be cool and versatile. Yeah, you could definitely. But, like, are you going to keep a bunch of fuel pods on the exterior of your ship where it can be shot? Probably not. So, probably not as efficient as you think, and probably not as safe as the whole sea. I think it says that this is why it's fucked, because we haven't done this yet. Yeah, no one does this stuff. And it's going to take a while. I think CIG is going to require probably a good 2 years before they get the inventory stuff to work properly, because PES still isn't working properly. And I'm fairly certain that the reason why the inventory system doesn't work very well right now is because it's still the relaunch of 320. Whenever they release a new patch, there's a bunch of shit, the back-end shit, that always doesn't work right. Even before PES was implemented. Shit just doesn't work in the back end because they don't scale it properly. Because CIG never pays enough money for what because they always underestimate the amount of people who are interested in the patch. Oh yes, 2 years, KEKW. There's a reason why 2 years, the 2 years memes exist, and it's not always incorrect. Because the thing about it is, I don't think they're going to really work on the inventory system in depth until after 4.0 comes out. Once 4.0 comes out, then we'll start seeing a lot of stuff being added. But once they get that stuff added, then they'll have to start like tweaking it and modifying it. And then eventually it'll get to a place where most people are happy with it. See mining, for example, took a long time to like get it decent. And then now they're really like dialing in the knobs and getting everything kind of game ready. Mining is always a good canary for how future gameplay systems are going to work, and they'll also be doing faster because mining was introduced in 2016, 2017, and it was kind of completed in 2019, and then it's been kind of tweaked here and there, and then this year is when it really got its first overhaul with 319, I think is when it got the overhaul. So. Mining is the canary in the coal mine. It is. It's the test bed for if everything's fucked or not. Probably why they changed the PTU system, wave system. Costly. Could be. I have no idea why they changed the PTU system. It seemed like an arbitrary change, but. Yes, rage quitting will be a thing. And Elite Dangerous players would take months to earn the Corvette, test fly it without rebuy, get jumped by griefers, and then never play again. Yeah. I mean, the whole sea is the cargo exposed well, though. I figured those ceiling in the Liberator where the shield wall end, you just don't stack cargo that higher than that, just like the whole sea. Yeah, but it's not a dedicated cargo hauler like the whole sea, so we can't imagine that it's going to be as efficient as locking down the cargo grid. Because, like, the cargo grid locks down the whole sea. I can't imagine that there won't be some jump physics added to landing. The gravity might not be the same on landing pads as it is in cargo grids. So. They didn't mention people would download play for an hour, so I assumed it was server cost. Could be. But it's not a CIG thing, a CIG only thing. Every game that has online presence underestimates how many people they have in the day one, and they have to slowly tier up the servers. On the Kraken, having cargo, weapons, and fuel, etc., is transported straight to the landing pad, ready for your tractor beam sounds much better. True. That's the reason why I'm thinking probably by next weekend, CIG will have most of the problems worked out. It won't solve all problems. Some people will constantly have bugs. What I've experienced with Star Citizen is that some people are just you roll the dice. Everyone rolls the dice when you pick up Star Citizen, and about 10 to 20% of you roll a 1. And you're just fucked for an entire patch. And some of you roll it consistently. But that number has gotten lower and lower and lower over time. 318 was a spike, though. Holy fuck, that killed so many people. But, like, there's just some people who are just always fucked. Like, and I hear this all the time where, like, my experience is great and another person's experience is terrible. And I'm like, I don't know how that's possible. I don't have a rig that's like super great. I don't have perfect like everything. And some people with better rigs than me and better connections have a worse time. I do not understand how that happens, but it does. And some people can have the exact same rig in similar internet system and still work fine. I don't know what happens. It's just a random roll of the dice sometimes people have. And some people have worse luck than others. So whenever I hear, but well, I have all of these bugs, it's like, well, I don't know how to tell you. Like, it just happens sometimes, and like, it's just a thing that is a reality for, like, not even just Star Citizen, but for like even with like Starfield and other games like that. It would be like Tarkov, like inventory, to be honest. Cardboard silhouettes with gray squares is so much better than we have, in my opinion. Like 30 to 40 million a year on server cost is almost certainly the expectation. That's why I expect sub fees. I doubt it. The other thing to understand is that CIG makes a lot of money off of ships and cosmetics. And of course, Squadron 42 is designed to be modular in the sense that, like, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, Star Citizen, once they release Squadron 42, they're going to immediately roll that entire team into Squadron 42 Part 2. And the answer is no. They might do the level designers and they might do the narrative team, but most of the team that's working exclusively on Squadron is working on base mechanics, which will just not have to be redone for the next part. They'll just reuse the same stuff. So a lot of those teams will be able to go to Star Citizen and continue to iterate on that. At one point, CIG or Aaron Roberts said that the plan was once they have Squadron 42 out, they'll be able to have a new single player experience with that engine every 2 years. I don't know if it's possible. That's probably ambitious, but it is what they've said in the past. A problem that sometimes happens and only happens for some users with no obvious pattern of location, etc. Yeah. And 320 elevators refused to work for me even after 10 minutes. Hopped on the server, then Whole C refused to undock, so I've not played since. Is it a hotfix tomorrow? I thought it was tonight. I'm not talking to you, Pope. Bro, there's nothing to do in the game. Like, do you know something that's fun that I don't? To do that I don't? No. Did they have to roll it back, Mick? I'm sure Pope the Hope is done. So Pope, the answer is what kind of game are you looking for, brother? Like, you said there's absolutely nothing fun in the game to do. What kind of game were you expecting? It's a sim game. Were you expecting like Call of Duty Warzone? That ain't it. When are we going to be able to use the drugs when we smuggle? 2 years. I'm just going to start saying that. When I don't know the answer, just say 2 years. Waiting for the real bounty hunts, like being able to like track and target your targets and stuff like that. That's going to be in some point, but that's going to be a while. And big PvP battles, you got to know PvP people to be able to do PvP battles. You're looking for Warzone, yeah. Star Citizen is not that. And even when you get to PvP battles, you die, you're done. You go back to the lobby and it's gonna take you, or you're gonna go back to the last place you were, not in a lobby. You go back to the place where you last were, and you're done for the day. You could die in 2 seconds, you're done. It's not gonna be that kind of like a repeating experience. Yeah, but you gotta know where to go to get PvP. It's not just one place. For instance, if you want to participate in PvP, there's a couple of missions. There's the heist mission on for Korea. There's another mission, isn't there? There's a new mission for Korea for infiltration. There's the Ghost Hollow PvP missions you can do. There's Jumptown's coming up, is already out, I think. There's a lot of places where you can go, but if you were looking for big PvP battles, that doesn't happen unless organizations are dealing with stuff. How's Void Crew been? I haven't played a lot of it since the initial couple times I played. It's fun. Kate has 50 to 100 PvP battles. Yeah, but those are pre-planned and stuff like that. You don't really have like off that kind of stuff. You can also do Arena Commander, has more like instant kind of play the game sort of thing. Basically, Pope, if you're looking for just PvP battles, they exist. They're not constant and they're not guaranteed. And a lot of bounty hunting is going to be, and combat is going to be focused on NPC stuff. The amount of stuff to do in Star Citizen is impressive. Old backers tend to take it for granted, including myself. However, I'm always bringing in new players. Their excitement and astonishment over Star Citizen always renews my passion over the game. We're fucking joy vampires. It's what we do all the time. Arena's a bit better now. It's a lot better. Like 320 did a lot better with 3VP stuff. They've added a lot of interesting stuff too, which will be expanded. All right, it's about 11 o'clock my time. I swear new players just all over the game. There's about a 3 to 5 month honeymoon phase where everything is new and exciting, and Star Citizen has a lot of content. I would say that Star Citizen has between 20 and 40 hours of repeatable content that can be overblown, but if you want to try to do everything in the game, it's probably 40 to 60 hours now for all of the content in the game. Not to mention like the events that come up and happen over so often. The problem is that Star Citizen doesn't have the secret sauce down of like getting you to continue to play the game, getting you to do just another mission, to stick around for just a few more hours. That just doesn't exist yet in Star Citizen. All right, y'all, I'm going to be back on Sunday. I'm not going to do anything on Saturday because Saturday is my time to really like zone in and get stuff done for the Complete History of Star Citizen lore series. I'm going to try to get part 4 finished. I'm also going to be finishing up and recording and editing my video on the Freestar Collective for Starfield lore. And on this Saturday, I'm going to be releasing a lore video on the 300i. I expect it to bomb. I'd love to do Star Citizen lore videos, but the 300i is one of the least interested ships. People just do not give a shit about that sort of ship, even though it's a ship video. So it'll do okay, and I'm sure it'll do a little bit better. But yeah, so hopefully you watch it if you enjoy Star Citizen lore. So why do it? Because I like the 300i, and it was also an experiment. Like I had a script finished and written, and it was an old script, and I never recorded it because I was like, like I don't think people would really like this. But I know that Uri really loves the 300i, and he's my editor. And he hasn't, because we haven't been doing monthly or semi-monthly complete histories of Star Citizen lore, I've been paying him to do kind of like shorts and stuff like that. Some of it's gone out and stuff, but not everything. So I decided, hey, do you want to do an experiment where I give you audio and the script and you just make a video for me? Just a regular video. And he said, sure. So it's an experiment to see how it works and everything like that. So, and it's content. So the YouTube algorithm recommends people more if you make more content. And I think it'll do okay. It just won't do as well as my last video, which is the best video that I've ever done. It's sort of the freaking the Bengal carrier video. Like right now, the colony war video for the Astro Historian is got 42,400 views. It's been out for less than 20 days. The closest thing to it is my Polaris video, which is about half of the it's a little bit more than half. It was at this point in its run, it was at 27.9K views. And the Polaris video is the second best video I've ever done. Was the second best video done next to the Idris, or the Bengal carrier. The Bengal carrier is still sitting shy of 100,000 views at 97,832 views. Give context. The last video I did on Star Citizen was the how every alien faction sees each other, and that has less than 5,000 views. That was released in July 15th. But the smallest of my Starfield lore videos is 10,000 views. So like, the point being, I wanted to do Star Citizen content because I've been wanting to do Star Citizen content. I had this available. I didn't have a lot of time, but Uri was around, so that's why I was doing it. That's what, like $5 pretty much. Oh, yo, but I'll be working on some stuff like that, so check it out. Hopefully enjoy it. It's actually a pretty fascinating story, because the story of the 300i is the story of Origin Jump Works, and how a bunch of two brothers who were artists kind of made the 300i work, but also damn near bankrupted Origin Jump Works before they were actually, starting as a ship manufacturer. So it's a nice kind of like artist and those sort of thing kind of stuff. So that's going to be coming out, and then there's no Captain's Table this week though. So, but also check out the monthly report. Will be on Saturday as well. So yeah, thank you for hanging out. Love to see you all, and I'll see you all, like I say every time. I hope to see you all in the black. Well, is there a video on my beloved 600i? Soon. These are the voyages soon. See who's playing Star Citizen. Oh, Tomato is. Let's go raid Tomato. He's doing a streamathon.
Power buttons on the remote turrets.
He's wearing different hats. That's funny.